All right. Welcome back to the live show. It is currently 4:13 a.m. and of course today's date is the 14th of August 2025. Welcome back. Should be in bed, but I'm here. Okay? I'm here. It's better to show up than to never show up. Okay? So I showed up. Okay? I showed up. All right. Showed up. And with that being said, it is your boy Genesis and it is currently the Genesis Show. And we're going to check out the OG, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, the Commander in Chief. And also, he is the head of the Kennedy Center. He said, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. Okay. I'm going to do it myself. I'm sure that's how he said it. So he's going to give a speech right here. This happened a couple of hours ago. We're going to check this out. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. God bless you. God is the greatest. Without God, there would be no me. There would be no show. There would be nothing. That's my ultimate belief. And I also believe that the United States is the greatest nation on the face of the earth, and God made it so. And with that being said, I also believe that this is the United States of America. This is not the divided states. So whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, who cares, bro? Nobody cares, okay? Come together, unite, stay together, and fight for what is right, okay? Which is the American dream, which is law and order, okay? Which is good things in America. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants safety, money in their pocket, safe borders, uh, great schools for their kids. Those are universal, universal values that everybody shares. So everybody come together and let's have a good time. Okay, be nice in the comment section. All right. Don't be attacking anybody because you are literally talking to your fellow American brother and sister. All right? Here we go. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and have some fun.
President of the United States and the Chairman of the Board of the Kennedy Center, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much. This is a very exciting project. We're going to do something that will go rapidly, relatively inexpensively, and will make it better than it ever was, frankly. It'll be something that people are going to be very proud of. Along with, in the bigger picture, a place called Washington, D.C. That is the bigger one, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But let's talk about right now the Kennedy Center, and I'm delighted to be here as we officially announce the incredibly talented artists who will be celebrated later this year at the 2025 Kennedy Center Honors. It's going to be a big evening. I've been asked to host. I said, I'm the President of the United States. Are you fools asking me to do that? Sir, you'll get much higher ratings. I said, I don't care. I'm President of the United States. I won't do it. They said, please. And then Susie Wells said to me, sir, I'd like you to host. I said, okay, Susie, I'll do it. That's the power she's got. But I just, so I have agreed to host. Do you believe what I have to do? And I didn't want to do it, okay? They're going to say, he insisted. I did not insist. But I think it will be quite successful, actually. It's been a long time. I used to host the Apprentice finales, and we did rather well with that. So I think we're going to do very well because we have some great honorees, some really great ones. Since 1978, the Kennedy Center Honors have been among the most prestigious awards in the performing arts. I wanted one. I was never able to get one. This year, it's true, actually. I would have taken it if they would have called me. I waited and waited and waited, and I said, the hell with it. I'll become chairman, and I'll give myself an honor. Maybe I'm going to honor, next year we'll honor Trump, okay? This year, the board has selected a truly exceptional class of honorees. I mean, really exceptional. First is country music star, actor, and producer George Strait. Great. Over an extraordinary 4-decade career, George has sold more than 120 million records worldwide, amassed 60 #1 hits, wow, and produced 33 platinum certified albums, more than any other living American. That is amazing. He's believed by millions of people to just be as good as you can get, and he's beloved by hundreds of millions of people all over the world. He's really something, and they call him the king of country, and we know him very well, George Strait. Okay, please. Oh, it looks nice. You're a good-looking guy. I hope he still looks like that. Second is actor, singer, philanthropist, and star of the Broadway stage. One of my favorite talents. I think he's one of the greatest talents I've ever actually seen. I've always said, and just so we don't get in trouble, I'll say among the greatest artists in the world are the Broadway London actors back and forth. That's all they want to do, is they want to do Broadway and they want to do London. They want to do 8 shows a week, including matinee on Wednesday. And if you said make a movie, they can't even think about it. If you say go on television, they don't want to. All they want to do is be on the stage, the live stage, and it's amazing. But I've always said they're the most talented people. And this man may be the most of all. Michael Crawford is being honored. Michael was born in England in 1942. He made his Broadway debut in 1967. I was there. I shouldn't say that, but I was there. It seems like a long time ago. And he became an international sensation in the 1980s for his original portrayal of the Phantom of the Opera, one of the greatest ever, 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 ever. You don't see him like that very often. Winning him the esteemed Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical. He's won so many awards. Michael is truly a generational talent, had a voice that was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. There's never, I don't know, it's Luciano Pavarotti had a very different voice. The power was incredible, magnificent. Michael had a different kind of a voice. These are just unbelievable talents. But Michael is very special and one of the greatest roles in the history of Broadway. And nobody did it like him. Michael Crawford, thank you very much. Great guy. Next, we look forward to honoring 3-time Oscar nominee, Golden Globe Award winner, an action movie icon, and a friend of mine. He's a very unique man. He's somebody that doesn't do these things. I said, I wonder if he'll accept, because some people don't really want to be honored. They don't care. But he was very honored to be honored, I will tell you. He's a very special guy. A real talent, never been given the credit for the talent. There was nobody else could have done the roles that he did like he did. I'm not even close, and they've tried, and they didn't work out too well. His name is Sylvester Stallone. So it's very few, almost, if any, people that could have taken a name and made it so incredible, like Rocky, Rambo, Creed, and others. But think of it, Rocky, Rambo, if you did one, you're good. You do two. And I'll never forget, I was a young guy, and I went to see a thing called Rambo, and it had just come out. I didn't know anything about it, but I was in a movie theater, like we used to go to movie theaters a lot. And I said, this movie is phenomenal. What the heck? And that turned out to be a monster. Rocky is Rocky. I mean, the way that happened, you know, Sly had no money, nothing, and he went around, and everybody wants to do a boxing movie. It's the most, you know, probably more than any other type of character, boxing, always boxing. It's so great. And there's rarely been anything like this one. John Voight did a great one, as you know. Champ, great. I think that was right there, too. John Voight's a phenomenal person, phenomenal actor. But Sly came in and he had no money. He wrote a script along with thousands of other people writing scripts on a boxer. And for some reason, a studio picked up this and liked it. And Sly he's in an old car that he came in from Brooklyn or someplace in New York, but I think Brooklyn. It barely made it to California. He was sleeping in the car. I mean, he had nothing. And he wanted control over who the actor was going to be, because he said it can't be successful if you're going to pick a movie actor with a bad build, okay? A nice face, but a bad body. And he said, I can't have these guys, because he's a tough cookie, and he knew exactly what it took. He knew what a boxer's body was. So they brought him one, and I won't tell you who it was, but it was a big name, but the chest wasn't exactly what you need. One shot, and your heart would pop out. That wasn't too good. Then he did another one. He was fat, sloppy, but had a good face. Then he did another one, and another one, and another one. And he turned it down. He wouldn't take $1 million. He wouldn't do it. And it turned out that when they saw him, they said, you know, you'd be actually pretty good for this role. And he had never done this before, anything like it. But think of it, he turned down $1 million. He had nothing. He refused to let somebody else play. He didn't want to play it. He wasn't originally, he did it as a writer. But he ended up playing it because he couldn't find anybody else that fit the role. And who knew what would have happened? He's become a legend of the silver screen, a true legend, and he's a great guy. He's a little bit tough, a little bit different, I will tell you. He's a little tough guy. But he's a phenomenal person with a phenomenal wife and family. Incredible wife, incredible family. His film's grossing more than $7.5 billion, which is either a record or very close to it. I can't imagine anybody doing more. If you add up Rambo and Rocky and these others, I can't imagine anybody doing much more. 7.5 billion worldwide over the course of 6 decades. And Sly is a pillar of the really American pop culture and a Hollywood superstar like few others, and one of the biggest names on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In fact, the only one that's a bigger name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, they say, is a guy named Donald Trump. I'm on the Hollywood Walk of Fame too, if you can believe that one. But he's amazing. He's really amazing. And he's actually a great actor. Fourth will be together celebrating one of the most revered singers of the American disco era, Gloria Gaynor. Best known for her chart-topping 1978 hit, I Will Survive. Gloria won the 1980 Grammy for Best Disco Recording, and her song was inducted into the National Recording Registry in 2016. 4 decades later, Gloria won a second Grammy in 2020 for her gospel album, Testimony, which is incredible. Truly a historic achievement, not only in terms of the years that have gone by to be great that long, but to have the two top of anything in that span of time, and with that kind of period between, is pretty amazing. But I will say that I Will Survive is an unbelievable song. I've heard it, like everyone else here, thousands of times. And it's one of those few that get better every time you hear it. And nobody can sing it like her. And that's an honor. So, Gloria Gaynor, thank you. Thank you very much. And finally, we'll be honoring one of the greatest rock bands of all time, Kiss. So Kiss was formed in 1973 in New York City by founding band members, and incredible people, by the way, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss. Kiss became a global phenomenon sold more than 100 million records worldwide, and produced 30 gold albums and lots of other things they produced. They made a fortune. And they're great people, and they deserve it, and they work hard, and they're still working hard, and it's an honor to present Kiss. Thank you very much. Got it? Yeah. Thank you. And they're going to do something very special. Kiss is going to be here on a little bit before the show. I think they're going to do something very special. We're going to have a good time. The 48th Kennedy Center honorees are outstanding people, a standing group, incredible. We can't wait to celebrate the Kennedy Center honors. It'll be in December. It'll be on CBS. In a few short months since I became chairman of the board, the Kennedy Center, we have completely reversed the decline of this cherished national institution. It was being run down. Money wasn't being spent properly. They were building things they shouldn't have built that nobody wanted instead of taking care of the great gem that it is. You look at the marble, look at the quality of the marble and the things that with a little fix-up and a little work, we can make it unbelievable. These columns, when you see them the next time, they'll be magnificent. I mean, we have some great plans for this. The bones are so good. The bones of a building, if you don't have the bones, you might as well forget it. I'm working on another building, a thing called the White House. We're fixing it up so beautifully. It needed it. It's been many, many years since it's been properly taken care of. It's incredible. One of the great places of the world. Maybe, I mean, truly, to me, is there anything else even close? But we're doing that and doing some other things, and we're going to also fix up a place called Washington, D.C. We're going to make it so beautiful again. We're going to be redoing the parks, redoing the grass. You know, grass is a lifetime like people have a lifetime. And the lifetime of this grass has long been gone when you look at the parks where the grass is old, tired, exhausted. We're going to redo the grass with the finest grasses. I know a lot about grass because I own a lot of golf courses, and if you don't have good grass, you're not in business very long, Lindsey Graham. By the way, you have very good poll numbers, Lindsey. I just saw. Congratulations. But a few short months ago, I became chairman of the Kennedy Center, and we completely reversed it. We reversed what was happening. We ended the woke political programming, and we're restoring the Kennedy Center as the premier venue for performing arts anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. This has the potential to be anywhere in the world. We're going to make it something that people can't even believe. We have some unbelievable plans, and ultimately it's about the talent you get, though. You know, you can have a beautiful building, you can have nice marble walls, you can have nicely done columns, as I was saying, but if you don't have the talent on the stage, and we're going to get the best talent in the world. To that end, the world-renowned musical Les Mis had a phenomenal 5-week sold-out run this summer, beat projected revenues by 35%, and we've raised over $10 million in private funds from a lot of generous donors, and we closed the $26 million budget shortfall that they had for before we got here. And with the help of Congress, we secured the critical funding necessary to rebuild the building, and we're going to get all brand new, highest level seats, magnificent seats, and it's going to be all new. We could have taken the existing ones and do a little paint job, a little fabric, but it's not the same thing. So we'll be taking out next season. All of the seats will be taken out. The room is being completely rebuilt, and I just want to thank the Republicans in the Senate, headed by Lindsey. In that case, Lindsey was she's a big fan of this building, and they got a record $257 million that's going to go toward renovations that the building really needs, and all of the exterior is going to be incredible. It's going to be exciting. So I thank you very much, and thank all of your Republican senators. I don't think we had too many Democrat votes, probably. You never have. We don't have Democrats voting even for crime. But I shouldn't make this political, because they made the Academy Awards political and they went down the tubes. So they'll say, Trump made it political. But I think if we make it our kind of political, we'll go up, okay? Let's see if I'm right about that. But I want to thank the executive director for an incredible job. He's done great. He's been with me for just about the beginning, and everything he's touched has been good. He was on high intelligence. He worked in low intelligence and high intelligence. He did better with the high intelligent people, but he's been fantastic. He's the executive director, Rick Grinnell, for his work. Thank you very much, Rick. Unbelievable job. And as well as Lindsay and all the people that helped us in Congress, I want to thank, and the Senate has been incredible. By the way, Leader Thune has been unbelievable, and Speaker Mike Johnson. These are great people. What we're doing with the great big beautiful bill is you're going to see a whole different country. You're seeing it already. We're coming in where the trillions of dollars is coming in from tariffs from all over the world, from countries that took advantage of our country. They thought we were children. They took advantage of us for decades, and now the money is flowing to us, and we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. But the Kennedy Center board members, many of whom I knew, and many of whom I put on the board, and it's as good a board as I've ever seen. And on the board also, and some people that are doing an incredible job. One in particular is Attorney General Pam Bondi. The job she's doing is incredible. Thank you very much. Long beyond the Kennedy Center. The Kennedy Center is the easy part. She's incredible, and you're going to see a big change in Washington crime stats very soon. Oh, they're not the stats that they gave, because they turned out to be a total fraud. The real stats, the stats went through the roof. You know, they had a man that was forced to put up stats like they were doing better. They're not doing better. Crime is the worst it's ever been, but it started as of about yesterday. You see a big change, and people are feeling safe already. I've had so many calls. Thank you, sir. Thank you. They were afraid to walk out. They're not afraid anymore. And this will be like the border. We started off with millions and millions of people coming in from all over the world, gang members and people from jails. They were unloading their jails into our country. All over the world they were coming, drug dealers. They came from Africa, they came from Asia, they came from South America, Venezuela in particular. They were coming in, Trinidad, and the toughest people you've ever seen. And by the millions. And for the last 3 months, we had 0, 0, and 0. We had 0 people come in for 3 months. They respect our country again. That's the other thing. All over the world, our country is respected again. So I also want to thank the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, who's fantastic. She's done an incredible job. And Sergio Gore for the job he's done with personnel. Thank you very much, Sergio. Fantastic. In the coming months, we'll fully renovate the dated and the infrastructure of the building, and make the Kennedy Center a crown jewel of American arts and culture once again. I think we'll bring it to a higher level than it ever hit. Actually, it hit a certain level, but we're going to bring it to a higher level than it ever hit. We have the right location, and soon we will be a crime-free area. This is going to be a crime-free area, by the way. You'll be able to go out. People tell me they can't run anymore. They're just afraid. And they'll be running again. We're going to have a crime-free. It's a big statement, because if one thing happens all year, Pam, you better be good, because they'll say Trump did not fulfill his. One person gets a little injured by somebody, they'll say Trump did not fulfill his promise. No, we're going to be essentially crime-free. This is going to be a beacon, and it's going to also serve as an example of what can be done. We have to get rid of this cashless bail nonsense. If you look at New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, which is so badly run. Los Angeles, they can't get the houses. They can't get the people their permits to build their houses. They're trying to rebuild their houses from the ridiculous fire that should have never allowed to have taken place. They should have had the water coming down from the Pacific Northwest, but they didn't do that. But they can't get the permits for the people that want to build their houses. But I want to thank Lee Zeldin, because the federal government has gotten all of their permits, which are much more difficult permits, actually, and had them literally within 30 days after the fire. Everybody had their permit. but you don't have the city and state permits. They got to get going. The governor and the mayor have to get going. It will just be a matter of time that we're going to do something that's going to be incredible. We're going to use the Kennedy Center as a big focus of it, and that's the 250th anniversary celebration that we're having. So it's 250 years. So we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, and we have the 250th anniversary celebration, all in this administration, and it's an honor that we were able to not be allowed to do what we were illegally and what we were supposed to do, and that was we had a great election in 2020. We won the election by a lot, but it was a rigged election, and we had to wait 4 years, and we waited 4 years, and it's interesting because I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. I can't claim that I got the 250th. That one's a big one, but I happen to be here. But I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I said, the shame of it is that I'm not going to be president when it happens. And lo and behold, look what happens. We have some bad things took place, and now I'm going to be president for the Olympics. I'll be president for the World Cup, and the 250th is going to be maybe more exciting than both. It's a great celebration of our country. We're going to be using this building for a lot of the celebration having to do with 250 years. But as I said earlier, I'm determined to make Washington, D.C. safe, clean, and beautiful again. It's going to take place very rapidly. Be prepared. And a big part of that's going to include the Kennedy Center. So thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody for helping us. This is mostly the group right here they're young, they're smart, they're ambitious, they want my job. Someday one of them will probably have it. But we have a great group of people that are putting this together, and they're also helping us with Washington, D.C. We're going to make Washington beautiful. We're going to redo roads. We're going to redo the medians, the pavers, and the medians all throughout the city. We're going to take all the graffiti off. We're going to have to remove the tents and the people that are living in our parks. We're going to be redoing the parks, the grasses and all. We're going to be going to Congress for a relatively small amount of money, and Lindsey and the Republicans are going to be approving it. I don't know about the Democrats. They don't approve anything. It's amazing. It's like they just don't want to vote for anything. They've got the yips. You know, in golf they say the yips. The Democrats are afraid to do anything because they don't want to be criticized. But fighting crime is a good thing. We have to explain. We're going to fight crime. That's a good thing. Already they're saying, he's a dictator. The place is going to hell, and we've got to stop it. So instead of saying he's a dictator, they should say, we're going to join him and make Washington safe. But they say, he's a dictator. And then they end up getting mugged, and but the stats are very bad. But we're going to, I think we'll actually get Democrat support. I really believe they can't do this one too. It's, they talk about 80-20 issues, but I think many of those 80-20 issues, like men and women's sports, I think it's 97-3, not 80-20. And I think crime is maybe 100-0. So I think we may get very well some Democrat support, but I hope so. But even if we don't, we have the majority, so we're going to vote it in as Republicans, and we're going to do something. And that's going to serve as a beacon for New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and other places all over the country. Our whole country is going to be so different and so great. It's going to be clean and safe and beautiful, and people are going to love our flag more than they've ever loved it, and we're going to do a great job. So I want to congratulate all the nominees. They're unbelievable people, and we're going to have a tremendous day in December, and that evening is going to be special, some really special people, and real talent. Do you have any questions? Yes, please.
Hi, sir. There's new reporting that the Russians have hacked into some computer systems that manage U.S. federal court documents. I wonder if you've seen this reporting and if you plan to bring it up with Putin when you see him later in the week.
I guess I could. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? They hack in. That's what they do. They're good at it. We're good at it. We're actually better at it. But no, I have heard about it. I have heard about it. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned congressional Democrats. You have not yet met with Democratic leadership, but there's a funding deadline at the end of September. Do you plan to meet with Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries to discuss that situation?
Well, I will, I guess, but it's almost a waste of time to meet because they never approve anything. If we want money to fight crime, if we want money to do only good things, just good things. And let's not even talk about controversial. They don't want to meet about anything. They really are. They're stuck. They don't know what to do. They have probably more, I would say more than half are sane, but they are led by insane people. And the kind of things that they're pushing are not something. We have a communist running for the mayor of New York, and I wish him well. I may have to deal with him. I mean, it's not even conceivable. It's not even conceivable that could happen. And maybe he won't win, but he won the primaries by quite a bit. You know, shockingly, he won the primaries. So, and you see some of the people supporting him that truly don't believe what he's espousing. So, I mean, we will meet, but nothing's going to come out of the meeting. But here's the advantage we have is that we just passed the great big beautiful bill that had all the biggest tax cuts in history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. Think of it. Think of that for the seniors. No tax on overtime. And all sorts of things. You go out, buy a car, you can deduct the interest payment. If you borrow money, you can deduct the interest payment from your taxes. So many things, but the biggest thing is, from a business standpoint, deductions. You know, that was tremendous. It's going to, our country is roaring. Our businesses are, you're going to see some numbers in 12 months when these factories are open. You know, we're opening up factories all over the world, all over the country, but that's all spreading to, I think we're spreading the wealth all over the world, if you want to know the truth. But we're opening them in this country at a level that we've never seen before. We've never seen. So they just don't want to prove anything. They just, we meet with them and they say, as Nancy Reagan said, just say no. They go, oh, just say no. They're afraid to approve anything. If we say, we want to stop crime in this country, or as an example, bail, we want to make it so that people, if they murder somebody, they're in jail. They don't get out on no bail. They say, we don't want that. We want people to murder somebody and they immediately are released and they go out and murder somebody else. It's a big problem, a tremendous problem. By the way, we're going to go for statutes in D.C. and then ultimately for the rest of the country where that's not going to be allowed. Because it was when they did the cashless bail thing that the numbers really started going up. In this city, in New York, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, no matter where they have it, the numbers went through the roof. So we're going to meet with them, of course. I'd like to meet with them. We're going to tell them all these good things, and they're going to tell us no. And then we're going to go out and we're going to vote it in by the Republicans, because I don't believe that anybody is capable of making a deal with these people. They have gone crazy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Your federalization of the police has a 30-day limit unless Congress acts to extend it. Are you talking to Congress about extending it, or do you believe 30 days is sufficient?
Well, if it's a national emergency, we can do it without Congress, but we expect to be to Congress, before Congress, very quickly. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in. And it's going to pertain initially to D.C. We're going to use it as a very positive example. And we're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions, because you can't have 30 days. 30 days that's by the time you do it. We're going to have this in good shape. And don't forget, in the border, everyone said it would take years and you'd have to go back to Congress. I never went to Congress for anything. I just said, close the border. And they closed the border. And that was the end of it. I didn't go back to Congress. We're going to do this very quickly, but we're going to want extensions. I don't want to call national emergency. If I have to, I will. But I think the Republicans in Congress will approve this pretty much unanimously.
Mr. President.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you encourage members of the press to do ride-alongs with the D.C. police to understand how serious this crime issue is?
Sure, it's okay to me if they want to do it. We're going to work with the D.C. police. A lot of very good people in there. Not all, but a lot are very good, very, very professional. And, we have a big force. I think they said 3,500. They're always asking the mayor, who's a very nice woman, but got to do the job. We've worked with the mayor for 6 months, and she's been here for many years. And the numbers are worse than they ever are. Don't let anyone tell you they're not. And the whole statistical charts that they made, the whole thing is a rigged deal. They got rid of the guy because he didn't want to do the numbers the way they wanted to, and they put their own numbers out. They said it's the best in 20 years. No, it's the worst in 20 years. But we're going to be very open about what we're doing. So if the media wants to ride with police, if they want to do it, if they feel it's safe, that would be okay. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mary Margaret with Daily Wire. 2 questions on D.C., if that's okay. How do you feel about Mayor Bowser's level of cooperation and her choosing to advocate for D.C.'s statehood right now? And
well, the statehood, let me do that one first. Statehood is ridiculous. We want to straighten the place out. Statehood's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. It's the Democrats want it because the Democrats have, about 95% in this little area. Even I didn't get it very much. They want that. They want to pick up 2 senators, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's the least of the reasons why, by the way, but that's one of the reasons why. What we want to do is make Washington, D.C., the greatest, most beautiful, safest capital anywhere in the world, and that's going to happen. I mentioned the word bones before. The bones here, we have the greatest bones. When you look at that Supreme Court building, I think it's one of the most beautiful buildings. When you look at some of the buildings here, it's so magnificent, and everything's good, but it's just dirty and not properly maintained. It's not taken care of. Potholes in the roads. All of it's going to happen very quickly. We're going to seek a relatively small amount of money for fix-up, and we're going to put it out to bid. And we have great contractors here, great road builders, everything. And we're not ripping roads apart so they're closed for 4 years as they redo the concrete bases. And you don't need that. We need a beautiful topping by a very talented asphalt-type person, somebody that does the job. We go out, when I get contractors, I use great contractors. To me, a great contractor is very special, like a great surgeon, like a great teacher, like a great nurse. A great contractor is very important. We'll only use the best. And when you put a coat of asphalt on that 2 inches of asphalt, 3 inches of asphalt, it looks brand new. You take all the garbage off. They reseed it, as we call it, or different names, but they take the bad stuff off and they put the good stuff down. It takes not a long period of time. A matter of a few days, you'll have a beautiful, magnificent road. You fix up the curbs. You get rid of the medians in this town are just horrible. You're riding around. I think to myself, leaders come from foreign countries. You see, with leaders all the time. Different leaders. They came in from India recently and from everywhere. They came in from a war that we just ended, Azerbaijan, and and Armenia. We just ended the war. The 2 leaders came in. One of them said, "My country looks better. The roads are better than." We were talking about it. I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Well, the roads are better in Armenia than they are in Washington, D.C. It's embarrassing." And I was asked at the last press conference, they said to me, "How important is it? You're doing world peace. We're going on Friday to Alaska, meeting with President Putin, Russia. How important it is that the capital is important?" I said, "Very, very important." I told my father, said to me, "When you see a restaurant and you want to go and you want to have dinner, and then you go up to the front door and it's dirty, turn around and go back because the kitchen's dirty." It's the same thing with the capital of the United States of America. If it's dirty and unsafe, it sets a bad tone for the rest of the world. So we're not going to do that. We're going to have this capital fixed up, safe, clean, and beautiful in a very short period of time. Go ahead, please. In the back? Yeah, please. No, just the opposite. No. We had a very good call. He was on the call. President Zelensky was on the call. I would rate it a 10, very, very friendly. I know the leaders because I was at NATO, as you know. I took it from 2% to 5%, 2% 2% that wasn't paid, 5% that is paid, which is trillions of dollars in defense capability. No, it was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelensky. I'm going to call President Zelensky, and then I'll call, probably in that order, the leaders. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing. Again, this is Biden's war. This isn't my war. He got us into this thing, and it should have never happened. This war would have never happened if I were president. But it is what it is, and I'm here to fix it, and I'm here to stop 6,000, 7,000 people last week. 7,213 people last week were killed, mostly soldiers. But missiles being lobbed into towns don't exactly help either, but mostly soldiers. And Ukrainian and Russian, they're not American soldiers, but if we can save a lot of lives, it would be a great thing. I've stopped 5 wars in the last 6 months. And on top of that, we wiped out the nuclear capability of Iran, obliterated it. It's turned out to be a correct word, by the way, because some of the press said, well, maybe it wasn't obliteration. It was obliteration. And we're going to meet with, I would say, the second meeting. If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately. And we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself, if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place. Now, there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I didn't ask you. Go ahead, please, address.
I just wanted to ask you, thank you, Mr. President. How involved were you in the selection process of these honorees?
I would say I was about 98% involved. No, they all went through me. They came over, Rick and Sergio and everybody. They said, I turned down plenty. They were too woke. I had a couple of wokesters. No, we have great people. This is very different than it used to be. Very different. These are great people, and they're not. I don't have any idea of the Republican, because I want people that. The Kennedy Center has everything. Look at the Academy Awards. It gets lousy ratings now. It's all woke. All they do is talk about how much they hate Trump. But nobody likes that. They don't watch anymore. That used to have 45 million people watching. I remember The Apprentice, first season. The Apprentice had 42 million people. The Academy Awards had 41 million people. We were the second show to the Super Bowl. But since then, the Academy Awards have gone down to, I think they've gone down to numbers that are like a regular show, because it went woke. We're not doing it for that reason. We're doing it because we want the great talent. But these are great people. So I was just a very long answer, but I was very involved.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Biden administration was auctioning off border wall materials, but we're hearing now that the auctioneers selling those materials back. Are you finishing building the wall?
Well, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and I was getting very close. I actually finished the wall, but then I added another 200 miles, because when you do the original wall that I said I was going to build, which I got built, and I got it to the specifications of the Border Patrol and ICE, they wanted steel, they wanted concrete inside, they wanted rebar inside that, they wanted it to have wires. The walls are wired for, all of the internet stuff and security things. And we built it hundreds of miles. We did great. That's one of the reasons, even now, we're able to have such good numbers at zero, or essentially very little people coming in. But Biden, I ordered for another 200 miles. I was going to do another 200 because it's the way it is. And we're all set to do it. Then we had the bad election result, the horrible, what happened to our country, what they've allowed to happen to our country. And we are taking now that wall back. They sold the wall. Now, this is expensive stuff. Hardened steel, very expensive. 9,000-pound concrete and rebar Rebar is very expensive, the hardest rebar. No, it's very hard to cut. You have different materials. It's very hard to cut because they cut it down if they can. It's very hard to cut. And Biden sold it for pennies on the dollar, 3 cents on the dollar, 4 cents on the dollar. He sold it. And I said, these guys really don't want it. That was when I first realized, when I saw the wall was being put up, because we could have finished the rest of the wall in about 4 weeks, anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. It was all set to go. It was laying down, ready to be put up. The foundations were, and they took over, and they said, we're going to sell the wall. And they sold it, as you know, for pennies on the dollar. Well, Pam Bondi's been working very hard on suing that company, and I think they reached a settlement where we're taking the wall back. But they stole the wall from us. That wall is so expensive to build, and we had it, as you know, hundreds of miles of it, and they came along and they basically sold it for scrap. And what a shame that is. But that was when I first realized that these people actually want to have open borders. And no country has poor countries don't have open borders. No, we had open borders where people just walked in. It didn't matter what they looked like, who they were. We had 11,888 murderers, half of whom killed more than one person. Literally killed more than one person. And this is who we took into our country. So the wall is the least of it, but we're going to take the wall back. We're paying a small amount of money, as I understand it, to get it back, to get rid of the litigation. We'll take it back. We'll put it up. Yeah. Go ahead in the back, please.
I want to take it back to the Kennedy Center, if I can, just for a second, Mr. President.
Sure.
From what I understand, the Les Mis show exceeded everyone's expectations. Attendance, revenue, across the board.
That's great.
Do you anticipate future shows to basically do the same?
I like that guy. Now, that's called a question, okay? And he's a great reporter, actually. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it did great. Les Mis did great, broke records, and was sold out and beautiful. And we anticipate a lot of that happening. There's a thirst for it. And especially when the crime is knocked out. You know, when we knock out crime, some people probably stay away from places like restaurants and other things. It ruins your whole fabric. It ruins your country. And when somebody thinks they have about a 25% chance of getting mugged, they say, let's not go to restaurants tonight. We're going to make it so that they have no chance of getting mugged. And it's going to happen soon. And yeah, we think we're going to have a lot of very successful evenings here. Please.
Mr. President, will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
There will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences, yes. Yeah, please.
Can I ask you a question about the Fed?
Right next to you, please, yeah.
About the Federal Reserve.
Oh, Federal Reserve, my favorite. Too late. He's too late.
You're considering suing Jay Powell. Can you update us on your thinking about that and tell us where you are in your search for a new chair?
Well, he took a building that could have been painted and fixed, like we're going to fix this building for very little money. And that was in better shape. He took a building and what they did to that building, they built a basement under the building. It didn't have a basement. This is simple to understand. The building is right next to a thing called the Potomac River, the beautiful Potomac River. That means lots of water. And the water is right under the building. And they decided to build a basement under the building in the Potomac River. So in order to do that, you need the biggest pumps that God ever created. And they were pumping their hearts out, but as big as those pumps are, you can't pump it fast enough because it's the Potomac River. If the pump were bigger than this room, you couldn't pump it. But they tried, and they've been building a basement. And I said, why did you want to build a basement? I thought it would be a good idea, sir. A basement is the least valuable floor in a building. I know a lot about real estate. The least valuable thing is the basement. And you don't build a basement under a building that is 2 feet above the river that's right next door. You know, it's right near the river. People don't realize the river's right out their window. And that's the beginning. They did just a terrible job. They instead of I could take a ceiling like this, they'd rip out the ceiling because they see a crack. Let's rip out the ceiling. And I would fix the crack and I would paint the ceiling. And under the ceiling, they put the most incredible protective material. They go out by 3/4 inch, brand new, gorgeous 3/4 inch plywood and sheetrock, hardened sheetrock. And they had it all over the building. So if a little piece of flake came down, but the problem is when they took the ceiling down and it would hit, they spent millions of dollars on protective material that you didn't have to spend anything. He could have done that job for $25 million, and they spent $3.1 billion. He said 2.7, but it's really 3.1. They just don't want to include one of the buildings in the deal. But it's going to be much more than that. And I think he'll be long gone by the time it finishes because they've got a long way to go. And then I hear they want to hire 3,000 economists. What are they going to do? And he got it all wrong. He's too late. We call him Jerome Too Late Powell. It will live with him forever. I believe that name will live with him forever, along with the name Pocahontas and some of the others that he worked closely with Pocahontas, by the way. She's another beauty. But we have a real problem there. They're way over budget, and they did a job that shouldn't have been done. It was unnecessary to be done. Instead of, I could have gotten the greatest wallpaper anywhere in the world from the finest stores in the world. I could have fixed up a wall a little bit. It would have taken about 2 hours, and covered it with the most magnificent silk and most magnificent paper for thousands of dollars as opposed to tens of millions of dollars. What a shame it is that they did. But they would take down areas of the building that shouldn't have been taken down. They could have literally been painted, and they didn't do that. So they've got a long way to go. And I think it's just grossly incompetent, but not quite as incompetent as his decision not to do interest rates, take down interest rates, because just like they shouldn't have taken down a ceiling, they should take down interest rates. Every point costs us $360 billion a year. Think of that, $360 billion for 1 point. And we should be down at 1% because we're the leader of the world. We were always the lowest interest rate until like a certain time ago, decade, couple. But we were always, because we were the United States of America. So even if the country was run badly, we were considered like to be super prime. And now he's got us in a bad place. So we're paying $360 billion a year for each point. Now, I believe we should be 3 or 4 points lower. So that's over $1 trillion we pay every year in interest. And it's really just a paper calculation. You sign a document and you save almost $1 trillion because that number equates very much to the bonds that we have to buy. But despite that, we're powering through it, and we have the greatest economy maybe we've ever had. But the housing sector, people aren't able to get good mortgages. They're paying too much because of Jerome Too Late Powell. He's truly incompetent, and we'll be making another. We put a very good man in temporarily in the one spot because one of the people that was appointed by the Democrats left early. And I heard left because that person wanted lower interest rates. And I heard quit, but I have no idea. I'm sure she won't say that. I'll be naming a new chairman sometime within the next. I think I'll name it a little bit early, the new chairman. I'm down to 3 or 4 names, all good, all great. The problem is you name them and then they turn out to be not good. That's happened to me a couple of times. You name somebody, they tell you everything you want to hear, and then they go in and they turn out to be not good. I mean, he told me everything that I thought was appropriate. He turned out to be a stiff, real stiff. But other than that, I think he's doing a very good job, yes. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more. 1 or 2 more. Yes, sir, please. Go ahead. He looks like Scott Bessent. Are you the Treasury Secretary?
You don't want me for Treasury.
I don't know. You look like you could do a good job. Go ahead.
I keep my family budget okay. Sir, when you meet with Vladimir Putin Friday in Alaska,
yeah,
do you believe you can convince him to stop targeting civilians in Ukraine?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've had that conversation with him. I've had a lot of good conversations with him. Then I go home and I see that a rocket hit a nursing home or a rocket hit an apartment building and people are laying dead in the streets. So I guess the answer to that is no, because I've had this conversation. I want to end the war. It's Biden's war, but I want to end it. I'll be very proud to end this war along with the 5 other wars I ended. But I guess the answer to that is probably no, because I would have had a good conversation with Vladimir. I knew him very well. I got along with him great, actually. We had the Russia. I had to go through the Russia hoax, and it was actually it was a strain on the relationship. I actually told him. I said, you know, they got this phony investigation going on, Russia, totally phony, created by Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and Hillary Clinton and the whole group of them. And it made it very dangerous for our country because I was unable to really deal with Russia the way we should have been. I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it. These people put our country at great danger. And Adam Schiff, it was all made up. It was a hoax. The Mueller report came out. They all hated me. They had 18 Trump haters. And they said I did nothing wrong. They couldn't believe, they couldn't find anything. After years of investigation, it was all a hoax. It was a hoax created by the Democrats, but in particular Schiff and Crooked Hillary, the whole group. And now we've learned all the stuff that's come out over the last 2 months is incredible through intelligence. And hopefully something's going to happen with it. These are people that put our country in danger, in real danger. I want to thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This by far is one of the greatest, if not the greatest president the United States has ever seen, and definitely one of the hardest, if not the hardest working president, like hands down, the hardest working president. And I got to give a shout out to our esteemed member, Dr. Luke the GOAT. God bless you for the super chat. I didn't want to interrupt the speech, so shout out to you, Dr. Luke. Thank you for the super chat. God bless you. This man is doing great work, and it's not even 1 year. It's not even 1 year. This guy has ended so many wars, renegotiated trade deals, closed the border. DC is about to be safe. Like, there's so much he's done. And if you want to think about it, look at the stock market. Look at the price of Bitcoin right now. Even though people don't really care about Bitcoin, you know, the traditional people don't care about Bitcoin. But take a look at what's going on in the country today. The energy is shifted. Everybody's more optimistic. Okay? I'm optimistic, all right? So I don't know about you guys, but things are looking colorful right now. All right, here we go. Vice President of the United States.
Thank you all. Thank you. Please, airmen, at ease. It's good to be here with you. Please have a seat. I see we have some beautiful families out there. You know, I served a few years in the Marine Corps, and I got to say, I'm pretty jealous. This is a pretty fine duty station, if I do say so myself. This is a beautiful country. I just spent the past few days here, actually. Some meetings, some downtime with the family, and we've had a very, very good time here in England. The United Kingdom, of course, is one of our great allies, so I think I speak for all the Pathfinders here. Is that right? When I say, and all the Red Dragon folks as well? When I say that we are proud of the special relationship and we are proud to work together with our British friends right here at Fairford Base. God bless you all. So, here's a simple thing. We've got a beautiful country here. We've got a beautiful alliance. And I think every single one of you know that for over 100 years, we have worked with our friends from the United Kingdom to achieve great victories. And if you look at the long sweep of history, every time something big happens for the world, every time a great victory is won for freedom and for peace and for prosperity, it is almost always the Brits and the Americans that do it together, and we win every single time we go to war together. You guys know that as well as anybody. But it's not just about going to war, and it's not just winning when we do. When we work together, when we fight together, when we make it clear that we always approach every situation with an open hand, but if things go poorly, we're willing to do what we have to do. We make it easier to achieve peace and prosperity all over the world. So I want to say, from all of us back home in the United States, for all the people that you serve with, that you fight for, that you make it possible to live the American dream in peace and prosperity, we are proud of you. We are grateful for you. And as your Vice President, I am damn proud to be here with you today. God bless every single one of you. Now, it would be impossible for me to list every single thing that has happened just from this single base over the past 100 years, from World War I to our operations against terrorists in Yemen. The history of this base, of its mission, of all of the things that we've done with our friends from the United Kingdom, it is a very, very proud tradition. So I won't try to list everything that we've done, but you guys know the mission, you guys know the story, and you guys know the history. We have done so much with our English friends, with our friends from the UK, and I started the week at a place called Chevening with the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, further south in the country in a county called Kent. And what we did is we worked on one of our most important shared security goals in Europe, which is the end of the war between Russia and Ukraine. The President of the United States came in 6 months ago, and I just talked to him right before I came on the stage, and he said very simply that we are going to make it our mission as an administration to bring peace to Europe once again. But as you all know, it is impossible to bring peace anywhere unless the bad guys are also worried that we've got a hell of a fine Air Force and a hell of a fine military to back up the peace to begin with. So what you guys do, even though you may not see it every single day, is you make it possible. You make it possible for us to accomplish the president's goals through negotiation. You make it possible for us to go into a room and say, yes, we want peace. Yes, we want to work together. Yes, we'd like to bring an end to this terrible conflict, but we've also got some great airmen back at Fairford and other bases. They're going to make sure that no matter what happens, the peace and the prosperity and the goals of the American people are going to be well served by what you do. So I think if you look back at the last 6 months, if you look back at the number of lives that we've saved in Rwanda and the Congo, the president ended a 30-year war there. If you look at what we've done in the East Asia, where the president ended a conflict, in Serbia, Kosovo, where the president has brought peace to that area of the world, and now, in just a couple of days, with the president heading to Anchorage, Alaska, to try to achieve an end to this terrible war in Russia and Ukraine. You guys make that possible. You guys are the reason why we can go into a negotiation with strength. You guys are the reason why we have leverage in these conversations with world leaders, because they know that if we cut a deal, it is backed up by the finest fighting force anywhere in the world. And that is what makes your job so important, and that's what makes it so important and such a proud moment for me to be here with you today. Because nothing that I do, nothing that we do as an administration is possible without the hard work, the courage, and the skill that you guys bring to the job. Now, I mentioned earlier I was at Chevening meeting with the British Foreign Secretary. I've met with a number of foreign leaders just in the last, hour. I had a call with about 30 European leaders. And over the past couple of days, I've met with a number of leaders across the UK, across political parties, across the generations, because that's one of the great things about the UK's special relationship with the United States is it cuts across political alliances, it cuts across political parties, it cuts across generations, because we've been working together for literally centuries. And you know what every single person that I meet often tells me? They tell me about how impressed they are by the skill, by the determination, and by the dedication of the American military. You all are what make it possible for us to do what we do. When Marco Rubio, our great Secretary of State, goes to engage in some diplomatic negotiation, he knows that he's got the great people of the Secretary of Defense standing behind him. And that fact, the fact that people are impressed by you, the fact that so many people are frankly afraid of you, is why we're able to do what we do as an administration. So I just want to say from the President of the United States, who again I just spoke to, and he told me to give you this message. We're proud of you. We're grateful to you. We know that it's not always an easy job. We know there are often long hours, but I hope you know that the peace and the prosperity and the safety of your countrymen depend on you doing a good job, and we are damn proud of the job that you do every single day. God bless you all, and thank you for having your Vice President here in the UK.
That is what a vice president speaks like. What happened to your last vice president? What was her name? I think her name was. She was also the border czar. I think her name was Kamala Harris. I don't think she would be that articulate. But look, I'm not judging anybody. She did what she had to do. She had Sleepy Joe as her commander in chief. Okay. Okay. Look, it is what it is. All right. All right. So, you know what they say? They say, show me your kids, and I'll tell you what kind of parent you are. That's what I've heard. Okay. Show me your kids, and I'll tell you what kind of parent you are. When you look at Hunter Biden, you can tell, okay, the kind of parent he had. Now, let's take a look at Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. Here we go.
This is a tour against the Trump administration's attack on New York City voters.
Nobody
but
cares.
I continue to say that if Donald Trump wants to pick up the phone and say that he wants to deliver on the cheaper groceries that he ran on, I'm willing to work with him on that. It just can never be a partnership at the expense of the people of the city.
New York City mayoral candidate who's winning by about 20 points in the latest Siena poll, Zohran Mamdani, says he's willing to work with President Trump despite promising to be President Trump's worst nightmare. So what would this mean for wealthy New Yorkers besides your taxes going up? Let's bring in World Liberty Financial co-founders Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and Zach Witkoff. Welcome, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
So much to be here.
I hate to drag you into politics, but it is New York politics.
I'm shocked that we're going here.
Right, but Eric, your thoughts about the rise of the socialist who does not like capitalism or billionaires?
Well, that's what's scary to me, right? I grew up in New York. My father's name is on every building in New York. I mean, this is a building, this is a city. These are the markets. This is New York Stock Exchange. This is the NASDAQ, right? I mean, this is the epitome of capitalism around the world. And the guy's coming out and actively saying that he wants to shut down capitalism. I mean, it's the antithesis of what New York City is. The guy is holy scary, and I think it's a disastrous thing for this state, which has already had an exodus of people out of it.
And Don Jr., when you talk about people that got to make financial decisions, well, the rich don't care, the successful don't care, but take a look, they do move when they're being pushed. For example, the proposal is a 2% tax of income over the year. The top city rate is 5.9%, so add on to that. The city and state, 16.8%. Federal, state, and city rate, 53.8%. So basically, if you're seeing these numbers, private company or public, what are you going to do?
You're going to move to Florida. You're going to move to Texas. You're going to move somewhere else. The reality is no one wants to pay that much. And the reality that's really sad for actual New Yorkers and middle-class New Yorkers is that the wealthiest people, they can move very easily. They can work from wherever wherever they want.
Especially
They've
since
seen
the
that.
pandemic.
Ever since the pandemic, people realize they don't have to be in an office. They don't have to do these kinds of things. They will move. They are the vast majority of the tax base that funds all of these subsidy programs in New York City. Anyway, you lose 10, 15,000 of those ultra-high net worth individuals. This city is in serious trouble, and no amount of free stuff being promised is going to actually help it. It's a shame, but I think he's going to be great, Mamdani. If he wins, he's going to be great for the rest of the country in the future, because New York City's going to go through some really hard times, and people are going to stop playing with this ridiculous experiment of communism and socialism that has not worked anywhere else in the world.
To think about it, too, it's propping up in Minneapolis. You got a socialist there and one over in Seattle. Zach, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think the boys said it really well, you know.
Right, so we've watched almost 3 minutes of this interview, right? And they haven't cursed. We haven't heard Eric or Don Jr. curse at all. Very smart, articulate human beings. Okay? Okay. They haven't cursed. You saw, what's his name? Hunter Biden's interview. All right? Everybody saw it. Could not put a sentence together without vulgar language. It's the difference, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Trump is a bad man. How come his kids turned out well? I don't see it. if you're a bad father, if you're such a despicable person, how would you train kids like this? I don't know. I don't see it, ladies and gentlemen. I think he's a great man.
Right. So that's why people will make that decision. We'll see what happens. It's hard to imagine him losing with this type of lead. Something else stood out. We thought it was perfect timing you were here. Among the people that noticed Trump 2 or Trump 47 is running on all cylinders is a New York Times reporter. So we clipped it. I wanted you to get your response to how you think it's going, the fact that he said this. Tyler Page.
He's way more effective at accomplishing his agenda with having that time out of office because a lot of his aides, Russ Vought, those sorts of officials spent their time out of government planning for this term. And so what they've done is an onslaught of executive orders in the first 6 months that accomplished a lot of their goals very quickly because he knew what they wanted to do.
Eric, is he right?
He's right. I can't believe I'm actually hearing this.
Where are we? Right, my father's throwing so much lead in the air that they literally don't know how to counter program. It's amazing. And listen, while I think we won in 2020, I think the greatest thing ever was having those 4 years off. We have the Senate, we have the House, we have a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. My father has a cabinet that's unparalleled. And what they're doing every single day, I mean, he's making America proud. He's making transformational change to this country, and this is exactly what we need. Look at our economy right now. Look at the jobs force. Look at the tariffs. Look at how much money's coming back. Look at inflation. I mean, our markets, in the last 6 months, they have done a 180. I mean, we were going into a really, really deep place. My father has single-handedly saved this country. Now you watch what he's doing in Washington, D.C. It's a beautiful thing. He's cleaning up the streets. He's getting away with the homelessness. He's doing a great job.
It's also amazing to see he now has a cabinet that is in line with him, right? In the first term, you had people that were coming in, they're kicking the can down. Okay, we're going to wait Trump out. This time, we had 4 years of hell that we went through. We found out who the people were that were actually fighters, people who believed in the America First movement. He brought them all on. So now that you have a cabinet that's actually aligned with the president, not trying to subvert him, you can see what's being done. And what's really great now, for the first time in probably history, the Republicans actually have a great bench for the future. Before it was Trump, and what do you have after Trump? There's no one there. We found out who those people were, who those fighters were in that 4 years, and we needed to go through that hell like addiction, right? You have to hit rock bottom to be able to rise up again. Yeah. We hit rock bottom as a country. We know the people who are on our team. They are fighting together as one engine, and the results are incredible.
Zach, your dad's very much part of this.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's super proud to serve the American people and the president, and you know, he's doing what he can.
What's it like for you to see your dad on the inside and you're on the outside with the guys?
You know, Eric and Don are the two greatest business partners I could ask for. You know, we run a stablecoin infrastructure company called World Liberty Financial. We have the world's fastest growing stablecoin, USD1. We just did this incredible deal yesterday with ALTS, the Alt 5 Sigma Corporation, to acquire $1.5 billion of our token. The stock's currently trading under net asset value by a pretty significant margin, so we're quite excited about the future of the stock. But yeah, you know, just really proud of my dad, and he's clearly part of the greatest administration, not just of the past few decades, but of all time.
So, Don, what's going to be happening today? You're going to be ringing the bell?
Well, we're going to be ringing the bell at the NASDAQ, talking about Alt 5, but the biggest thing is we got into crypto because we didn't have a choice, right? We were debanked by every major banking institution. The people that 2 weeks before we were debanked, we could have called and gotten a loan in 5 seconds, they disappeared. We were left high and dry. So we weren't even, this is basically during the first term, certainly after, you know, let's call it January 6th, all the nonsense, it got significantly worse. So we weren't even early crypto guys, but we figured out if they can debank the Trump organization, if they can debank us, who can't they go after? And more importantly, who won't they go after? And so we had to, rather than take our ball home and go cry in a corner, we had to come up with solutions. And the reality is between crypto technology, blockchain technology, so much of what the traditional banking system was made up of didn't make any sense. It's grossly inefficient. It takes forever. Right. It's not democratized at all. If you know someone, you can make, we were at the top of a Ponzi scheme. We just didn't even know it. For regular people, it didn't make any sense. So we partnered up with Zach and so many of the greatest guys in the space to really get people to understand what crypto is. And to me, it is absolutely the future of banking. So what we're doing with World Liberty Financial, I think is going to shake up the entire banking system. It is literally the future of finance.
And I know it's going to be exciting for you today in about an hour. But, Eric, I want to bring you to this, and all of you. Critics are saying, hey, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. The New Yorker, for example, says the number. How much is Trump pocketing off the presidency? Axios. President Trump and his family stand to net $3.4 billion by the end of the second term. David Kirkpatrick reports for the New Yorker in a piece today the number of why it matters. No U.S. president has monetized the highest off in the land quite like this. Eric, your answer to those headlines.
Brian, it's infuriating. We had nowhere to go. Capital One stripped 300 bank accounts from me, 300 in the middle of the night. They sent us a letter after doing business for 20-something years. All your bank accounts for golf courses and condominium buildings and hotels, they're all gone in the middle of the night. I mean, how do you pay your taxes? How do you pay your employees? This happened across the board. It happened with J.P. Morgan Chase. It happened with Bank of America. It happened with First Republic. And this wasn't just happening to the Trumps, people with a lot of zeros on the end. This was happening to conservatives all over the country. We didn't have a damn choice. So before my father, won the election, before my father was in office, we started getting into cryptocurrency. The people in cryptocurrency were being debanked just like Trump was being debanked.
Right.
And you know what? It's become the fastest growing industry anywhere in the world. It's actually removed a lot of the power from the big banks who have weaponized their platforms against the American people, and I could not be more proud to be here.
I don't notice them talking about the hundreds of millions of dollars we had to spend fighting lawfare. That doesn't matter, right? That was all nonsense, right? Russia, you name it. Impeachment 1, hoax 2, 3, 4, 5, infinity. No one talks about that. They weaponized the entire full force of the United States government against our family. And unlike all the other people who'd served as the presidency before, basically since our founding fathers, Trump was the only guy that was actually a businessman before that. Are we supposed to stop running our businesses? Are we supposed to stop doing anything? He's not involved in these things. We are running those businesses as we have. We came up with a solution to a very real problem that not just us, we didn't just have to face it. Hundreds of millions of Americans either face it or are afraid that they're going to face those kind of problems because they don't just simply conform and fall into line with whatever the talking points are or whatever the liberal agenda is that day.
And that's what we're doing with ALTS and World Liberty is we're really trying to democratize the financial system, put power back in the hands of the people instead of, the big boogeyman behind the curtain.
Since I knew you guys before your dad was running, well, I remember talking to you early when your dad was running. I thought, Eric, are you going to do something? Because Jared went in, Ivanka went in, Don, you say, no, I don't think so. So you've kept a wall up there. But what do you think about people who say, well, your dad hires David Sachs, and they loosen up cryptocurrency rules and set up parallels, and then you guys are in that space?
Crypto is the fastest growing industry worldwide by far, bar none. Everybody in the world, if you look at the Middle East, if you look at all of Asia, if you look at all of South America, they're all running toward cryptocurrency. I mean, we have a financial system, Brian, that's broken. If you want to send a wire at 4:59 on a Friday afternoon, somebody's not going to get it until midday Monday. How is our banking system, 9 to 5 Monday through Friday doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If you want to go get a loan, you want to go buy a house, the bank that you've banked with for 25 years will take 120 days to go through a know your customer report to give you your own money, to be able to borrow against your own. Our banking system is broken, and then that same banking system has gone after 50% of the Americans because they decided to wear a hat that says Make America Great Again. We have to change the financial system. We will change the financial system. World Liberty is going to change the financial system. And honestly, I could not be more proud. And we started this company long before my father was elected, long before he won the election, certainly long before he actually got into politics again. We started this when the New York Times, ironically, was giving him about a 2% chance of re-winning the election as they were throwing the kitchen sink at him.
And we campaigned on it. I mean, we said we were going to do this. I mean, we said we were going to do this because, again, the fear of the American public that they were going to be debanked, that they weren't going to be able to get their credit card payment processed because they're buying a gun. The Second Amendment's kind of a big deal. That was a very real fear. We campaigned that we were going to do these things, that we were going to change these systems, that we were going to try to democratize finance. It's not like we're doing this after the fact. When they said we had zero chance of doing this, we were still already working on this project because it had to get done one way or the other.
Letitia James thought she'd be dividing up the Trump empire a year ago, less than a year, and look at how things have dramatically changed, guys. Resilience, your family stuck together through all of it. And, Zach, you are an honorary member of the family, I think.
100%.
Yeah. So there you go.
Man, I don't care what anybody says. Just listening to these boys right here, you could tell these are well-educated men, okay, well-trained to handle business, okay? That's all it is. They handle business. They love the United States. They've gone through a lot, been through a lot with their family, with their dad being the president of the United States. Of course, we know everything that man has been through. Attempt on his life, raiding his home in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, come on, man. Yet his kids, keeps on winning. Fed up, China, doing what they do. Come on. But when you watch Hunter Biden's interview, he's crying, talking about his father is on pills and stuff. Come on, man. Come on. All right, here we go. Pam Bundy.
Donald Trump has made going after bad hombres his top priority, and his pressure on cartels is clearly working. Take Mexico, which is effectively a narco state. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum went from appeasing, enabling, and collaborating with criminal cartels to finally playing ball with the U.S. under extreme political and economic pressure from President Trump. Now she's handed over 26 top cartel leaders to the United States. And it's all happening during Fentanyl Awareness Week. I sat down for an exclusive interview just yesterday with Pam Bondi for Fox Noticias.
President Trump's directive on day one was make America safe again. And that is stopping the deadly flow of cocaine and other drugs coming into our country. We see young kids dying every day from this abuse. I don't think any teen, any adult thinks they want to take fentanyl. They think they're taking cocaine. They think they're taking some other drug, but often it's laced with deadly fentanyl. And that's why Fentanyl Awareness Week is so important for our country.
But make no mistake, the Mexican government isn't doing this out of the kindness of their heart. The only reason they're sending these killers to face justice in the U.S. is because President Trump is forcing Claudia Sheinbaum. Of all the messes Biden left behind, the Western Hemisphere might be the biggest President Trump has to clean up after the border, and it won't be easy. Everyone knows that Hamas and Hezbollah are transnational terrorist organizations. But guess what? We have organized transnational terrorist groups right here in our own hemisphere. And the biggest ringleader is not far from the state of Florida. Attorney General Pam Bondi says Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro uses groups like Tren de Aragua, the Sinaloa cartel, and the Cartel of the Suns to bring deadly drugs into our country through Mexico. And with the drugs comes violence. Trump is sending a message to criminals and narco dictators like Nicolás Maduro. He put a reward of $50 million for information leading to Maduro's arrest. That's the biggest reward ever offered by the U.S., even bigger than Osama bin Laden.
This is twice the highest reward previously offered for any American fugitive in our nation's history. And here's why. This is not a legitimate presidential regime. He is a narco-terrorist. He and his associates are flooding our country with cocaine as a plot against America. He is one of the biggest drug traffickers in the world, and he must be brought to justice. Cocaine, other drugs are killing Americans.
But it's not just narcotics. The illegal drugs flowing into our country bring an onslaught of violence and criminal activity that sweeps up anyone caught in its path.
And it's not only the cocaine. With that, what comes with that? The human trafficking, the weapons, the gangs terrorizing our country and many other countries. This is organized crime, no different than the mafia.
Socialists have been in power in Venezuela for nearly 30 years. During that time, Venezuela went from being the richest country in Latin America to the poorest in the hemisphere next to Haiti. Maduro uses oil and drug money to finance his illegitimate government. 1 year ago, there was a presidential election, and Maduro lost by 70% of the vote. But he refused to leave office, and he used his military to steal the election. While his people starve, he and his henchmen are laundering the drug money into luxury goods all over the world. Since President Trump took office, Pam Bondi and the DOJ have actually confiscated over $700 million in assets.
Maduro-related assets are over $700 million in total that we have already seized. These assets include 2 multi-million-dollar jets, multiple homes, a mansion in the Dominican, multiple multi-million-dollar homes in Florida, a horse farm valued at millions of dollars, cars, 9 vehicles, I believe, jewelry, millions of dollars in jewelry and cash.
First, President Trump declared cartel terrorist groups. Then he stopped the oil investments from Chevron going to the Maduro regime. He's seizing Maduro's stolen assets, and now we put a $50 million bounty on him. The walls are closing in for Maduro, and he knows it. Here's why all this matters to America. If Maduro falls, communist Cuba and Nicaragua will also crumble, and President Trump will effectively tell the communists and the Chinese who's the new sheriff in the Western Hemisphere. This is actually bigger than what's happening in Alaska. Ukraine and Russia are on the other side of the world, but Donald Trump's cleaning up our neighborhood. If Donald Trump accomplishes this, this would go down as the biggest foreign policy achievement for him, but also for his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. There are millions of brave people in Venezuela who are fighting for their freedom at great risk to their lives. One of them is Maria Corina Machado, the opposition leader and the woman Maduro fears the most. For the
Uh-oh. Get ready, Venezuela. Get ready. It's about to get
A little bit of new video posted by ICE a short time ago of ICE special agents and U.S. Park Police working together conducting enforcement operations on the National Mall, chopper overhead. Meanwhile, back in New York City, Zohran Mamdani.
The fact is, the 45th and the 47th President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, President Donald J. Trump, he is a disruptor. And as a disruptor, other world leaders that are probably bad actors would not like him because this man doesn't give a F what you're doing. He's coming for you. He doesn't hold back on his words. He say what he wants to say. He does what he wants to do. You certainly cannot buy him. He's wealthier than you can ever be. Okay? He doesn't even get paid his salary. He donates his salary. So whatever you're trying to do or offer is not going to work. Okay? So it's coming for you. You got nowhere to go. Trump is the ultimate disruptor. And I called him the ultimate. This was a couple of months ago when he was running with Kamala Harris. I called him the complete ultimate warrior. Like the Wolverine. He never dies, bro. No matter how hard you punch him, push him down, try to drown Trump, he's coming back up. And you will, for sure, 99.9% lose to Trump. It's like almost certain. Look, I don't know how he does it. God has blessed him. That's all I can say. Only God can give you that kind of resilience and long suffering. Because in the Bible, God gave some the spirit of long suffering. And I think Trump actually has that spirit. He can take so much, and once he dishes it out, you can't take it. But he absorbs every single thing they do to him. But when he tries to do something else to them, it's like, oh, we can't take this.
The Democratic Socialist candidate for mayor, leading by 19 points in new polling, says that he will fight to keep New York a sanctuary city.
It is not enough to fight against authoritarianism. What are you also fighting for? We are fighting to keep this city a sanctuary city. We will continue to uphold that status and ensure that we do not allow ICE agents entry into New York City properties, be they schools, hospitals, or even the properties of New York City contractors, unless they can provide a judicial warrant signed by a judge.
Reporters our Tom Homan joins me now. Tom, thank you. Great to have you back with us again. Reporters our Tom Homan joins
Was she
me
holding the
now.
fan? Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He has a personal. I don't know who this person is, but they're holding the fan to his face. He's sweating. They're holding the fan to his face.
Properties, be they schools, hospitals, or even the properties of New York City contractors, unless they can provide a judicial warrant signed by a judge.
Reporters our Tom Homan joins me now. Tom, thank you. Great to have you back with us again. Your reaction to what the mayoral candidate had to say there?
No, he needs to do his research. ICE don't need a judicial warrant to make an arrest. Now, we need a judicial warrant for a search. What he needs to do is homework that ICE don't do operations at schools, churches, or hospitals. He's fear-mongering. But bottom line is, he says he wants to uphold the sanctuary city policy. How about upholding the law? The law says it's a crime to enter this country illegally. It's a violation of federal law. And it's a crime to knowingly hire an illegal alien. So we're going to enforce the law. He can stand by and watch, but he's not going to stop us from doing our operation. Matter of fact, we've already increased staffing in New York City. We're going to flood the zone in New York City. We're already sent many people there. We're going to send many more people there because if he wants a sanctuary city, he won't let us in Rikers Island, then we got to go to the neighborhood and find them, which means we need a lot more people to go into the neighborhood and find the bad guy. When we find that bad guy, if he's with others who are in the country illegally, they're coming too. And he's not going to stop it. So he can hate on ICE all he wants, but don't get in our way.
You know, Tom, I want to ask you to respond to this Judge Lewis Kaplan in New York with regard to the 26 Federal Plaza government building, because he is issuing a lawsuit on behalf of the detainees there, a temporary restraining order, because he says that they're inhumane, the way that people are being held. He wants capacity limited, cleanliness, and sleeping mats at that facility. What's your response? Are you familiar with the conditions in that particular facility? What do you have to say about that?
I'm not familiar with that facility. If it's an ICE facility, which I don't know if it is, doesn't sound like it is, because an ICE facility has the highest detention standards in the industry. I'll put an ICE facility up against any county jail, any state prison. Put them side by side. That's why I said from day one, I have no problem with any member of Congress going to an ICE facility and looking at them. The vast majority, if not all the time, they go in there, they're shocked at how high our detention standards are. Matter of fact, when I was the ICE director, I had sheriffs end contracts with us because they said they don't give these kind of standards to U.S. citizens. Why would they give them to illegal aliens? So I want people to go to ice.gov and look up detention standards. You look at those detention standards and what we provide. So I think the judge needs to do their homework too.
Let me ask you about the D.C. situation. And does the fact that there's National Guard there now, it's a sanctuary city, like sanctuary cities across the country, but it's unique in that it has federal control. And now you've got National Guard on the ground side by side with ICE. Does that combination basically negate the sanctuary city status in Washington, D.C., at least for these 30 days in terms of what you can do there, Tom?
Yes. I think D.C. under federal control is not going to be a sanctuary city. We're working with the police hand in hand. When we encounter a criminal illegal alien, they're going to be turned over to ICE. And that's the way it should be. I mean, I'm not saying every illegal alien in D.C. is a criminal, but many are. So these are people we're going to focus on. Illegal alien, criminal safety threat in D.C. is not going to be protected. There's no sanctuary for these people in the city of D.C.
I just want to ask you a little bit of a sidebar question, because I think this is an interesting story today. The government of Mexico has sent 26 cartel members back to the United States, sort of given us people that they believe are involved in the drug trade. They're cartel members. And I'm curious, the stipulation is that there'll be no death penalty for these individuals. We know that President Trump has talked about enacting special forces to shut down some of the cartel drug activity coming in from Mexico. What do you think about this offering from Mexico's side to give up these 26 cartel members as sort of an opener in that exchange?
Well, look, I said from day one, all the way back to the Republican National Convention, that President Trump will wipe the cartels off the face of the earth. And he would designate them terrorist organization, and he has. Because the criminal cartels in Mexico have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. So this is one of the steps President Trump's taken. The Biden administration could have asked for cartel members to be extradited to this country, but they didn't. They had an open border. Multiple pounds of fentanyl came across the open border and killed 250,000 Americans. President Trump has committed to American people to make this country safe again. He's going to save lives. He's going to shut down the cartels and wipe them off the face of the earth, and this is exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. And in February, just weeks after President Trump took office, they sent 29 cartel members back to the United States. And among them was someone who had killed one of our U.S. DEA agents back in 1985. So at some closure of some sort for his family. Tom Homan, thank you very much. Good to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page.
All right, here we go. More Mamdani.
Hi. So what made you decide to not defund the police? What made you decide? Okay. Promising vulnerable people.
Our very own Nicole Parker caught up with New York City's radical mayoral candidate Marxist Mamdani outside of a campaign event. Got 3 questions in and got an answer. Mamdani did eventually answer several of the questions, which is kind of good news. After getting heckled by locals, we're going to bring you the full exchange. That's straight ahead, that exclusive tape. Plus, like a clown in a circus, Beto Bozo O'Rourke is desperate for attention yet again. Take a look.
We are in a basketball game right now, if you'll excuse the metaphor, where the refs have left the arena. And the other side is just clobbering out of us, just punching us in the face, kicking us in the nuts, and we're kind of throwing our hands up.
Oh, meanwhile, fellow failed politician Stacey Abrams, she has a big new gig at Harvard. The university is calling the 2-time loser a political mastermind. If she was such a mastermind, why didn't she win? Anyway, as you can tell, the Democratic Party, not in great shape. It's run by radicals. But Illinois power-hungry Governor J.B. Pritzker is struggling to come to grips with reality. Take a look at this.
Yes, winning elections is partly about messaging and strategy, but it's mostly about values and delivering on them. And our values are exactly where they ought to be. So it's time to stop apologizing when we're not wrong.
Don't change it all. Listen to the governor of Illinois. Those values are right where they need to be to lose every election. Government funded, taxpayer funded transgender surgery, gender affirming care for kids, higher taxes, open borders, get out of jail free cards for violent felons, repeat offenders, defund, dismantle, no bail laws. How's it all working out? How's woke working out? And anyway, the most liberal city in America, our nation's capital, we know that's a dumpster fire. It's one of the most violent places on the planet. You look at the entire planet Earth, and the #1 capital with the highest homicide rate is Washington, D.C., higher than other major capitals around the world. But many on the left, they're now pretending that it's perfectly safe. It's not. And they are content to sacrifice lives, prolong suffering, ignore the glaring problems in America's capital city, because for them, nothing is more important than hating Donald Trump every second, minute, hour of every day. At this point, the left has become so deranged that even members of the legacy media mob that are usually, running point for them, they're desperately trying to steer them back on track with just a gentle dose of reality. Take a look.
I live in Washington. This is personal for me. Many people are frustrated with crime that we see, particularly committed by juveniles in the city of Washington. People are frustrated, Willie, that when they go to CVS to buy deodorant, that they have to get it from behind locked plexiglass.
Now, you have people on both fake news, CNN, MSDNC. They are now openly worried. The Democrats, blinded by never-ending anti-Trump rage, have once again picked the wrong side of an important issue. They seem to do that daily. Take a look.
I can't tell you how profoundly stupid it is for Democrats to get up with their facts and their figures and their charts and their graphs and say, look, you're safe. Can't you read this chart, idiots? Why are you complaining? I'm showing you right here how safe you are, so shut up and move along. I don't have to tell you how profoundly stupid that is, because voters told you how profoundly stupid that was in 2024.
You can't keep saying violent crime is down, but the murder rate's up. To the average person, the murder rate's about life and death. You don't brag about a rising murder rate. And the Democrats are, I agree with you, Mika, they're falling into the trap of defending what's indefensible.
It's a trap.
So like everyone else, working class voters are fleeing the Dems. The New York Times talked to blue-collar Democrats, and the consensus was clearer than the vodka in Kamala's coffee mug. The Dems are turning off more normal people than a sex tape from Rosa DeLaura and a peacock. Once the party of labor, the Dems had become the party of elites, making their brand more toxic than Jerry Nadler's underpants in a heat wave. After years of support, the Teamsters are shifting away from Democrats and funding Republicans, which makes sense because it's hard to picture someone who drives an 18-wheeler demanding that you pay off his truck loan. He might as well be wearing a pink pussy hat while pumping his fist in the air to NPR. The union's boss saying that they forgot who they're truly representing, working people. And when the unions jump ship from the Dems, you know it's bad. That's like John Fetterman boycotting Goodwill. It's a troubling trend even Comrade Sanders can see.
And we have got to understand that the Democratic Party, in many, many respects, has turned its back on the working class of this country. And if Democrats want to win elections, they're going to have to stop taking money from billionaires and start responding to the needs of working people.
Right. And that's the guy who hasn't held a real job since Nancy Pelosi's tits respected gravity. It's like the 1950s. But it's obvious there's not a single issue Dems champion that resonates with the blue-collar American. The only contact they would have with one is hiring a guy to install urinals in the women's bathroom. And because of DEI, the person they hire would be a dwarf amputee who identifies as a carrot. The whole party is a swill of identity extremism, luxury belief, and victimhood. They loved open borders because migrants aren't taking jobs reserved for art history majors. They hate cops because they want to be the ones telling everybody what to do. And they still resent the fact that Cagney and Lacey weren't lesbians. Aren't we all? They also think gender is just an opinion until a man says something they don't like. Their party leaders are career politicians who've never had a real job. Hell, Chuck Schumer couldn't change a flat tire if you gave him AAA's phone number. And he'd only change a light bulb if you held his hairpiece for ransom. Wow, you guys are hard tonight. Jesus Christ. Somebody throw some smelling salts into this group. Plus, their loudest voices are showboating radicals straight out of academia who think 2 + 2 = whatever pisses off their dads. Now, we know what blue collar is. Mechanics, truck drivers, that guy who holds up the slow sign, which was a valuable tool every time Joe Biden had to drive to another casket fitting. These are people who value their paychecks, safe streets, hard work, and family. The Dems ignored that and embraced what blue collar wasn't. Non-binary, trans, climate extremism, race theory, oppression cults. Loafers who demanded you pay their student loans. Now, sane Democrats still exist, but the party has been hijacked by unhinged, bitter activists. For every Harold Ford, there's the witches' coven of the squad, boiling a cauldron of entitlement and resentment, mixed with Eye of Newt and a handful of Rashida Tlaib's back hair. There's nothing blue-collar or real about them. Worse, they embrace the one practice that's responsible for killing more people than a whiff of Joy Behar's support hose. Tribalism, now called identity politics. It reversed America's strength, the melting pot, where unity trumped differences. People were then separated into groups and pitted against each other, a fight between who could complain the loudest about their self-created problems. The illegal who insists the country he invaded is racist, or the trans woman suffering from jock itch. But then Trump arrived, and he listened to voters on inflation, crime, the border, while Dems pretended their problems didn't exist. And for blue-collar Americans, it became an easy choice between the party that is allergic to work or the one that works for you. It's no wonder they left the Dems, whose hair may be blue, but the collars aren't. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He's remarried, which means his new wife hasn't seen his act. Actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. Phil Spector says he has great hair. Author and host of the James Altucher Show, James Altucher. You can't spell TIMP without TM. Old ladies do. I have a serious question for you. Okay. You're a comedian. It's neither a blue-collar job or a white-collar job. What kind of job is it?
It's funny, I Googled, because I wanted to know what exactly is working class. Am I working class? And I looked at it and it was like low wages. And I was like, check. And then it was like possible menial labor, like maybe you don't get benefits and stuff. So I would say comedian when you start out working class. But I don't know if you know this about me, but I for sure would have classified as working class for probably 5 to 6 years of my life. I worked in factories. I was like a pizza delivery guy for 5 years. And I think one of the worst things is when people, these are hardworking dudes, man, with half-hour breaks, 9-hour days. One of the worst things is people trying to relate to you in a fake way. And it's so obvious, like Kamala with a McDonald's uniform. It's just like so obvious. And I get all the complaints. And to me, this is not a surprise at all. Like Trump's, he always says America first. I feel like the Dems, it should be America, but first. It's just, this might seem like it's off topic, but does Bernie Sanders comb his hair with a live bird? What the hell is going on? I worked in a factory. I remember I got harassed at this one factory job. I was working. There was like a female, the floor manager.
Yeah.
And every time she walked by me, she would go, "Nice ass, Lissow. That's a great ass." And full disclosure, the factory, we made asses.
Oh. You said you were It's weird. You said you were a pizza delivery man, and I recognize you from like 3 or 4 movies I've seen.
Yeah, by the way, pizza delivery is very misrepresented in the pornographic film industry.
It is. It's the whole reason I started working for Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
James, how are you?
Good. Great to be here.
You look great.
Thank you.
Your hair has not changed one bit.
Well, it's being here that inspires it.
Yes. Do you think the Dems realize how far they've strayed from their blue-collar roots?
I don't know. I don't think they do. Because like the typical classic traditional Democrat, you're like a welder working in a General Motors car factory, working hard all day. You get home, and then you get the call from your kid's school. Hey, we chopped off your son's dick in 3rd grade. And if you protest, you're going to jail for child abuse. Like so I don't think they understand that that's not a Democrat issue.
Yes.
Like that's completely, the traditional Democrats don't agree with that. There's this culture war that the Democrats have already lost, but they don't realize it. And that's why those Democrats are never coming back. I was one of those Democrats. They are not coming back.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to have their dicks chopped off.
Yeah.
I only have daughters.
But it's true. It really is. Like, they couldn't see that they crossed the line when they entered the children's bedrooms and said, this is going to be our little secret, which is what my uncle used to tell me, Kat, when I was growing up.
I was really hoping you wouldn't come to me next.
So, do you think there's any way out for the Democrats? Like, how do you get these guys? How do you pander now?
Well, you have to stop pandering, which it seems impossible. I mean,
but they pander to all the special interest groups.
Yeah, because it just makes such perfect sense. You don't know how they don't see it, right?
Yeah.
I looked into what work is like at a steel mill. Turns out may not be for me. Yeah. Like, I feel like I would leave with like 3 fewer fingers and just like covered in burns after like 7 minutes.
Yes.
And so I just picture being one of these dudes that works this very difficult job, very taxing, gets home, turns on the TV, sees Kamala Harris, and she's like, my name is Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm wearing a blue jacket or whatever. And just turning that off and being like, you don't even know how to talk to me when you know I'm watching you. When you know this is supposed to be you're trying your best right now to get to me, and this is what you have. If this is the fake you that's trying to win votes, which that's because you're in front of the camera, this is even way beyond what I expected. I mean, you're not even trying to pretend. So even the pandering doesn't really work entirely.
Yeah, you know what it is? Tyrus, Kat's making the point that, like, they almost basically just take it for granted that they have these people. So they focused on the extreme out groups and just said, oh, we have the unions. So they just let them go. Now it's in the Republicans have this group, but are the Republicans going to know that? Are they? Trump does. Do the Republicans?
I don't think the Republicans have to know if they have the group or not. It's the group who chooses, the working class chooses to support someone. If you had a Democrat who had the same visions as President Trump, they would go Democrat. Because working class is a mindset. You don't lose it. I worked everywhere. I've done everything. Construction. I worked in a steel mill. Actually, I worked next to a guy called Knuckles.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He was like, hey. I was like, whoop. Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Every time I offered him a high five, he was like, oh. I was like, okay. But
I knew a guy named Pelvis.
Nope, not playing with you today. Trying to make an actual point here. So leave your pelvis in your pants. But it's a mindset. You never lose it. And when you work hard, when you have that, when you take care of your family and you go to work and you work your 45 hours a week or whatever it is, and you come home, you want to be entertained, or you want to be, you've been all day at work. You've been in every aspect of your life. When you come home and sit in front of the table or a politician, just give it to me straight.
Yeah.
And when you can have straight talk, they understand that. And they don't care what side it's from. President Trump just decided, hey, I'm going to try this thing out, where I'm just going to tell you like it is. Take it, don't take it. I'm just going to tell you like it is. And the Democrats have no respect for the working class. It's not that they think they have them, they're above them. You know, it's like all things we're all people are equal, but we're a little more equal. So it's a lack of respect.
Yeah.
They try to talk to them in their bubbles, because in their bubbles, that's what's important to them, is the sexual identity of their 7-year-old. And the rest of the world, that's not important.
Also, it's like in work, you understand there's a hierarchy. And then the Democrats introduce a hierarchy into life, that this person is more important than you because they're in this group. You don't want another hierarchy. You go like, I already have a boss.
You already have to deal.
I don't need lesbian black women to be my boss.
Well, I also think it's just people watching, they know, okay, you have more money than me. You have all this influence, and you're somehow saying that I'm some kind of bad person.
Yeah.
That's just, what's more sickening than that?
Yeah. Everyone has to deal with the nepotism, the boss's son, the general manager. The last thing you want is the boss's son as your politician.
Yeah.
And that's basically what the Democratic Party is. It's nepotism, and they pick each other. They choose. The American people haven't chosen a Democratic nominee in 8 years? Something like that, after Obama. I mean,
well, there's the Biden, but we know what that was.
Yeah.
But they trashed Sanders to get Biden. Like, they all resigned the same day. And voted for Biden. Don't vote for Sanders.
Yeah.
He was winning, but they couldn't have like a socialist.
They did it to him with Hillary too.
Yeah. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is currently 6:06 a.m. I know you guys want to keep going. Tell you that much. I know y'all want to keep going. Let's see what we have here. Let's see. All right, let's do the 5. And probably that's going to be the last one. But let's see. Here we go.
We're going to be essentially crime-free. This is going to be a beacon, and it's going to also serve as an example of what can be done.
That's President Trump talking about a possible extension after a successful night 1 of his D.C. crime crackdown. National Guard troops taking to the streets, patrolling neighborhoods of the nation's capital. No major incidents, but there were plenty of arrests. 43 folks were sent to the slammer Tuesday night alone. But guess what? Not everybody was a fan. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser hopped on a Zoom call to trash the crackdown. Watch.
This is a time where community needs to jump in, and we all need to do what we can in our space, in our lane, to protect our city. and to protect our autonomy, to protect our home rule, and get to the other side of this guy and make sure we elect a Democratic House so that we have a backstop to this authoritarian push.
Authoritarian, that's fun. And the liberal media hacks who live in D.C., well, they know crime is a big problem, and yet they're too chicken to admit it out loud. Thankfully, Morning Joe is a gossip queen.
I want to read you a text from someone who, I won't say their name, but they're, we'll just say that they're very liberal. And he says, this may sound controversial, but I'm not totally opposed to Trump's National Guard move in D.C. I know he's doing it for politics, but crime remains rampant. I've had too many friends carjacked, shot at. None of us will walk more than 3 blocks after 8 p.m. 13-year-olds are committing many of these crimes.
Joey, is there liberal relief? They obviously must virtue signal that they are disgusted by the authoritarian crackdown. But then in private, they're telling each other, I'm quite happy about this.
Listen, a fellow with this accent can't make fun of the way anyone says anything, if you've heard me read the prompter, but authoritarian, I like that. I've been to one of those once. It was a good old hoedown. Okay, listen, she said this on her X account. She said this to her people. And she said other things to a press conference, which went to everyone. She's trying to talk out both sides of her mouth, and she's not realizing that people hear everything. And so that's her problem. I was very perplexed by how seemingly welcoming she was to President Trump in the press conference and in her public statements. But the truth is, if you're a city mayor, your goal should be to make the people of your city happy, and that's what's going to get you reelected. But when you're the city mayor of a big city with a high profile, your goal is to be in another office. And she's trying to navigate the politics of her office in this very hard to navigate, if partisanship is what you're trying to do, moment. Because, listen, I went to school at Georgetown. Those are the most hypocritical progressive liberals you could ever meet. They won't allow the DC Metro to come on top of that hill because they don't want the riffraff to come with it. But they'll yell at me my very first day because I drive a truck. Literally, that's what happened to me. They say, go back to the country where you belong. Wow. And I said, I can't get there quick enough, but I need an education to get there, so get out of my way.
Not very well.
But that's just the type of people that are in DC. I mean, Georgetown's the worst of it probably, not the community, but just the institution and all of it as far as the hypocrites and the ones that want to live their elitist lifestyle and tell the rest of us in blue-collar America we need to do more to take care of the people they don't want in their neighborhood. That's exactly what President Trump's trying to do. He's trying to give everyone on the pay scale some peace in their homes, and to be against it, it blows my mind.
But Muriel Bowser wasn't. We were talking about this on your show just a couple days ago because, to Joey's point, that everyone was kind of surprised that at the press conference she was backing the president. So when you make an about-face like that, is that because the progressives have gotten to her and threatened her, or is that just bad leadership?
I also think it's a little bit like if you're President Trump, you have to understand she's got a base too.
Yeah.
And just like, for example, when he goes to Alaska on Friday, Russia has an audience, Zelensky has an audience, NATO has an audience, and he has an audience. So you have to understand, like, what can you ask people to do that are within their realm of politics? I think who she was initially, when we saw her say, okay, well, let's try to work with him on this, is where she really is. She went along with President Trump's decision, at least she didn't push back too much on shuttering the Black Lives Matter thing. She supported a crime bill a couple of years ago that the leftist activists were, like, very much against. And she also is trying to get the Commanders, Redskins, whatever. But she wants that team back in Washington, D.C. And a lot of progressives don't want that. So I think that she has been willing to do that. But I will also say this, I know this, and I don't think she'd mind me saying it because she said it on TV this morning. When Judge Jeanine first got to D.C., one of the first people she reached out to and had established a very good relationship with was Muriel Bowser. And I think that if we can get past this, that she's going to have some politics that she has to deal with, but that she knows this is happening, one, and she's trying to figure out, okay, how do we get to the other side of this in a way that is better for the city? I think just to understand that everyone has politics that they have to deal with and still work with her is probably the best way to do it.
So the people who are pushing back on this, people like Zohran Mamdani, who's obviously the Democrat socialist running for mayor in New York City, they're saying, well, if it can happen in D.C., it can happen anywhere. in any big American city. But that's not true, is it?
That's not true. So what could happen, though, in those cities, which we would love to see in those cities, is enforcement of the laws and dismantling these acts and these legislations that have been put in place by these city councils. I was reminded when we were told about these incredible, 2 days of this, how efficacious it's been, how many people have collaborated together to get these arrest warrants out and the like. So we know that there was almost 1,500 participants in, for example, one of those night operations. Border Patrol, FBI, DEA, U.S. Park Police, in addition to D.C. Metro Police. And it reminded me of in Portland when they tried to dismantle the police altogether, and they put they charged them with enforcing safety for residents was like park volunteers, park employees. And the first perp that they tried to either get or protect themselves against obviously brought out a weapon, and they then had to call the police to come and save them. So when people call this tyranny, or when they say, look what can happen in your cities, it's like, exactly. This is what collaboration looks like when the safety of Americans is at stake and when the safety of Americans is the priority. I would love to see Muriel Bowser's call log. That was the first thing that I thought of. Who texted? Who called? Yeah. Was it Pelosi? What person in charge said, you need to walk back your comments a little bit to toe the line? But I'm not quite sure how the narrative stops just short of saying we have buy-in and support protecting these minority and low-income communities that purportedly that party was set to protect this entire time. And final point, for all of those people crying on the left, this is unprecedented. No, what has been unprecedented is the crime. What is unprecedented is for how many years it has been allowed to fester and foment, how many lives were discarded, how many people looked the other way because they were discardable type populations. That is horrifying, and that is unprecedented. This is what it calls for.
So Joe and Mika here, they're the odd heroes because Joe is saying what I think is very obvious, that, there are a lot of liberals who publicly are signaling that they're disgusted by this, but privately they're quite relieved. And Mika's like, we are walking into a trap. If we don't say we hate crime, Donald Trump has laid a trap for us, and now we have to say we love crime.
Yeah, this is why the media is evil, okay? If you know the truth and you don't like it, then maybe just stay out of it. Just don't say anything. But instead, they know the truth and they lie because they find that their status, they're more terrified of losing their status than losing their lives. So, they could be murdered on the way home, but what if they don't get that cocktail invite? And all of these, this is like, I think there were a few more examples yesterday of people anonymously talking about the crime and then saying, I'd rather not put my name onto this because, what they're saying is they don't want to lose their friends, I thought it was interesting that she said, the mayor says, how do we get to the other side of this, or him? Yeah. What is that? I mean, you can't get to the other side of common sense. And that is the reason why they're stuck with narratives. So they use the authoritarian narrative, which is a great one because you can fit anything into it. It's just like the racist filter. So it's like increasing law enforcement, authoritarian, arresting juveniles, authoritarian, curfews, authoritarian. They're all authoritarian. They could all be racist but none of them are, but they can look like it. But Trump, whether it's border or crime or trans invading sports, he takes the lane of common sense. So they're stuck with these narratives because they can't. What alternative do you have to common sense? There is none. You can't get over this. What happens when you remove the narrative of authoritarianism? If you took that out and just watched what was happening, it was just crime fighting. That's all it is. It's an apolitical act that we all agree with, fighting crime. It's common sense. They know that it works. The fear is that it will work. And if it works, God help the left, because success is a threat to the preservation of their failures.
So I think what they're trying
that's a word. Success is a threat to the preservation of their failure. That is a fact. Shout out to Greg.
full vote into is the other side of the Trump administration. And she's assuming that it's going to be a Democrat president in 2028 who will take with them both houses of Congress, and then D.C. will achieve statehood and then Muriel Bowser will be governor.
But she might also have been trying.
Dear Lord. All right. There we go.
I understand it's 2 years probation to go to college with no mandate for getting on a public bus with an illegal gun, shooting an individual in the chest, which to me is intent to kill. And he walked away after we convicted him. He walked away with no jail time. If that's what you want in this district, then I'm the wrong person to be United States Attorney.
So, new U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, laying down the law at yesterday's DOJ news conference. Pirro took on reporters for citing crime stats, saying she's more concerned about the victims and their families. She joins us now. And I think you are the living embodiment of the phrase, right place at the right time. And you've been there for a few weeks now. Some of the things that you've seen are very disturbing. You have thoughts on how you think things could get solved. But in the commercial break, you were talking about one thing that has really troubled you, and that is the homicide rate of young people.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, it's great to be with you, Bill and Dana. Of course, I miss all my friends at Fox, but I am, in my element here. The truth is that I just, kind of on a whim just said, let me see the number of homicides of teens last year in D.C. and this year in D.C. You're looking at the 2024 kids who were shot and killed with firearms in 2024. There are 29 of them. Okay, every one of them is an African-American minority community. This is the community that's being victimized by violent crime. Now, in 2025, we've got 16, again under the age of 19, who have been shot and killed as a result of a firearm. So totally, we've got 45 African-American kids who've been killed. And the crucial point right now is that the clearance rate is 30%. What does that mean? That means that they've only solved 30% of the homicides of these teens in the last year and 7 months. That means that 70% of the murders that were committed with guns against teens in the minority community, of those 70% of the murderers are walking around free. We don't know who they
How? How can you be against this right here? You must be against the United States if you are against this right here. How? You say Black Lives Matter, don't you? Black Lives Matter. Here we go. Okay, here we go. You would rather go protest with your board than put in your front yard Black Lives Matter, when there are actual real life people trying to make sure it matters. And you are against it. Why? What has she said that is wrong? What? Oh, Trump is such a bad man. He's a racist. Black Lives Matter. These are the ones that are making sure it matters.
are because the cases have not been solved. And therein lies the problem. Young criminals in D.C. have been emboldened to commit crimes because they believe that they're not accountable. And why do they believe that? Because they are not accountable. We've got a D.C. council that has passed laws that make it almost impossible for me, as both federal prosecutor and kind of quasi-local prosecutor, to be able to incarcerate these kids. I can't even prosecute a teen who's 17, 18, 19 years old. Forget the 14, 15-year-olds who shoot someone with a gun. If you shoot someone with a gun in D.C. and you're up to 19 years of age, I can't even indict you.
Well,
and
you
so this
could
is a message.
Just to jump in here, you could if the D.C. Council changes the laws.
Right, but the laws are tying my hands.
I got you. Let me just show our audience what you're trying to get the D.C. Council to do. You want them to repeal the Youth Rehabilitation Act, the Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act, and the Second Chance Amendment Act. I read through this, Jeanine. You're basically trying to eliminate the reductions in sentencing for serious crimes especially, and also to get away from hiding the record from those in the future who would look back on the crimes for which they were convicted.
Yeah.
Do I have that right? And if
You
I
have
do,
it totally right.
how would that change crime in Washington?
Well, what it would do is it would make people accountable, number one, and we're also looking to lower the age of criminals. What's happening is, even if you shoot someone with a gun, you go to family court where the purpose is rehabilitation. You get to go to an ice cream social and you get to go to yoga classes. That's nonsense, and that's not what we need in the nation's capital, and that's not why the president put me here. The president wants to make the Capitol safe and beautiful, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And the only way to do that is to change the laws that have protected young children who are committing adult crimes. And all of these statutes that they've passed don't allow me to incarcerate. They allow the removal or the erasure of convictions. How fair is that to a parent who wants to find out whether or not a nanny is someone who's been convicted of a prior assault? How fair is that to an employer who doesn't get to understand or know who he's hiring? Everything about the D.C. Council and the laws that they've passed are liberal, they're defense-leaning, and they're not in favor of the citizens of D.C. And that's what President Trump is fighting, and that's what we're going to change. We're going to change the laws. We're going to lower the age of criminal responsibility. We've seen too much of it. We've seen homicides against young people. We've seen assaults in areas where just a couple days ago a kid gets a fractured nose and gets a severe concussion by 12 and 13-year-olds trying to steal a car. Why? Because they've been allowed to do it. Not anymore. If we have our way, we will be able to make D.C. safe again. And the president's going to do it. And we've got this. Last night, there were 700 federal and local cops on the streets. And this is what the community wants. They want to be able to be safe. They want to come to the nation's capital and look at the fabulous museums and the monuments that we have here. And last night, there were 43 arrests, and we seized 7 handguns. And every night it's something else. But this is a message that we're not going to tolerate.
One night, just one night, ladies and gentlemen. This is in like a month. Okay. One night, 40 plus arrest. One single night. Yeah, keep going. Keep going, Judge Janine. You got this. Support you.
Crime as if that's just the way things go. And I'm tired of hearing that crime is down. It's not down for people who are suffering from violent crime.
And one thing I've admired about you, when you got there, you reached out at your hand, and Muriel Bowser, the mayor, took it. Yeah. And you guys had to have a good relationship. I know she's under a ton of pressure from her left flank and maybe her city council. Here's what she said last night at a town hall.
This is a time where community needs to jump in. And we all need to do what we can in our space, in our lane, to protect our city, and to protect our autonomy, to protect our home rule.
What are you saying, ma'am? Your duty as a mayor is to protect the people living in your community. What are you talking about? Protect your people. And if you cannot protect your people, well, the capable ones are going to do it.
And get to the other side of this guy and make sure we elect the Democratic House so that we have a backstop to this authoritarian push.
So I know there's always tension between local, state, and federal governments. That always happens. How can this work best for everybody in the long run?
Well, you know, yesterday I was in a meeting with the mayor, along with the police chief, Pamela Smith, and with our attorney general, Pam Bondi. And the meeting went very well. And our effort is to make D.C. safe. And I think that in the end, you know, we will all come together and make that happen. You know, politics and ideology are something that, you know, you can go sell to the left or sell to whatever. But the truth is the mayor and the police chief have an obligation to make this city safe.
But
not just for the people who live here.
Didn't she change her public message within 12 hours?
Sure she did.
At noon, it seemed like she was saying one thing about cooperation. In the evening, it was different.
Sure.
I mean, that's how you heard it, right?
Yeah, that's how I heard it. But does it matter to me? No.
Another question for you. We got to wrap here. But you're in a unique position because of the laws in the District of Columbia. You have federal authority and you have local authority.
Right.
That makes you kind of a double threat. And based on your relationship with the president that I know goes back decades, is that the reason he picked you?
You'll have to ask the president why he picked me, but I'm back to my roots, Bill. I mean, this is what I did for 30 years. I've been a prosecutor, a judge, and a DA. I fight crimes. I fight on behalf of the victims. I fight on behalf of those people who simply want to be safe and want to be able to walk outside their homes and not worry about a bunch of thugs or young punks going after them and beating the hell out of them. Those days are over, and we're going to make sure they're over. Politics is something else. I'm all about making sure that criminals are made responsible and accountable for the crimes they commit.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
And the fact is, every victim were African American. And if you so much say that you care about minority groups, why would you be against this? And the mayor is an African American. Okay. So why are you not in support when every single victim is African American? You're complaining. You want your city back. We cannot. Support the people trying to solve these cases and stop crime. That's what you should be doing. Supporting them. It's the same thing with ICE. Oh, ICE is. Well, Laken Riley's mom is without her daughter right now. Well, ICE is so bad. ICE is so. They're always crying. Like, there's no way they're raising with their brain. Okay, common sense out the window, just like Jet said. As soon as TDS kicks in, it's over for common sense. Over.
The White House today slamming Democrats, quote, despicable, calling them despicable as their criticism of President Trump's D.C. crime crackdown has ramped up.
Look, it's pretty clear the president wants his own domestic police force, and step by step, he's trying to create it.
I'm very concerned. The president is showing all of his authoritarian tendencies.
And take a listen to this exchange between a reporter and D.C. Police Chief Pam Smith today when she was asked about how this is going to work coordinating with the federal officials up the line.
Can you tell us what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is clear. The president designated Attorney General Bondi as his proxy to request services through me.
Okay, interesting moment there. It happened after a meeting today, really important meeting, with all of the officials that you see there on the screen, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Patel, and the head of the Drug Enforcement Administration, Terry Cole. Now, President Trump has tapped Terry Cole to command the Metropolitan Police Department to oversee the police in Washington, D.C. And he joins me now exclusively in his first TV interview since taking on that role and becoming head of the DEA. He's got a very long resume. He served more than 2 decades at the DEA, working all over the country in some of the hottest spots in terms of drug enforcement in Colombia, in Mexico, and in Afghanistan. Terry Cole, thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon, Martha. It's great to be with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining me. So this must have been an interesting meeting today because we know that the Washington leadership did not necessarily outwardly want anybody taking control of the Metropolitan Police Department. What can you tell us when you all walked in the room? What was it like?
So it was a great meeting today. Yesterday, I was with the chief of police on 2 occasions at the Metropolitan Police Department. We had a great exchange. We have direction. We have a vision on how we're going to reduce violent criminal activity in D.C. And today, it was a very good meeting. Once again, at 9 a.m., I was at the Metropolitan Police Department with the chief. We were strategizing our plan for today, staying very focused on violent criminal activity, reducing gun crime, reducing street crime, and allowing the citizens of DC to feel safe. And I have to say, I just left a meeting at the Metropolitan Police Department again with the senior leadership of the Metropolitan Police Department, along with all our federal partners. And it was very encouraging to see everybody at the table working hard together, planning the events for tonight to help make this city safe.
All right, so explain to us what's the role of, how does the role of the police department change? What's going to change now that there is federal control over the DC Police Department? What did you talk about that's going to change?
Well, I think the federal integration with the patrol officers and the uniformed police officers that, quite frankly, Martha, they just want to do their job. They want to feel empowered to do their job. I think with the federal government, with ATF and DEA and FBI and U.S. Park Police, all the entities bring so much power to allow the police officers to do their job. And the president was clear yesterday. We must empower, we must support, and we must always stand behind our police officers. We must always back the blue.
Terry, why did they not have power before you showed up?
I think that there's a lot of dynamics with the DC City Council that are concerning. But at the end of the day, we are there to support law enforcement. We are there for law enforcement activities. We are there to hold people accountable for their violent criminal activity. And, you know, just in the last 2 days, we've had 60 arrests that are very impactful. We've taken 17 firearms off the streets. Last night, we arrested somebody that was wanted for a murder. We have tremendous cooperation, tremendous intel sharing. And what's most encouraging, the police are looking forward to doing their job again. And Martha, I have to tell you, I've been receiving phone calls from all over the country of other federal agents that want to fly in and help. They want to be part of making DC safe again. They want to be part of this law enforcement effort, similar to what we did in Northern Virginia when I was the Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security for Governor Youngkin.
If I may, let me ask you just a couple of specific questions here. So, number one, is Mayor Bowser welcoming the federal oversight in her city?
I have to tell you that the chief of police has been very accommodating. I have an office there in the Metropolitan Police Department. Very accommodating to introducing me to the entire command staff. Very open to sharing ideas on how we're going to do this together to combat violent criminal activity. Make no bones about it. The president was clear with the executive order, and we are going to carry out the mission of the president.
I'm sorry to interrupt. If I just want, just a few things I want to get in here while I have your time. So if you arrest someone under the age of 18, we've heard Jeanine Pirro at the U.S. Attorney's Office saying the city council will not let me convict this person. What changes now? You talked about the city council pushing back. You know, none of those rules have changed those. So if your guys are out there and women are out there and they bring in an illegal immigrant or they bring in someone under the age of 18, are they just going to take them in and then they're going to be released the next day? What changes where that's concerned?
So we're going to continue to work through the process of supporting law enforcement. In reference to interdiction of criminals on the street, specifically juveniles, that is a complicated issue. It does require a code change, but the president, the attorney general, Judge Pirro, everybody is committed to working to make these changes to hold these juveniles that are out of control accountable for their actions.
Okay, so if you arrest a 16-year-old who is, holding a gun to somebody's head, what is going to happen to that person tomorrow? Are they still going to be in jail, or are they going to be sent to one of these, as Jeanine Pirro says, where they're going to do yoga and arts and crafts classes? Because if that's the case, some of these people are going to be out on the street very quickly. How do you handle that?
Yeah, so they'll be booked into normal procedures. It is frustrating for law enforcement because they are encountering these same violent youth criminal offenders numerous occasions with handguns. But this is something we cannot turn a blind eye to. We must continue to support law enforcement. We must continue to have a unified effort And now that the president is involved with making significant changes, we are eventually going to change the code, hold these criminals accountable, even at a juvenile age.
So, Terry, Mayor Bowser, as early as a few days ago, said we don't have a rising crime problem in Washington, D.C. In fact, it's declining. And they've been pulling out all these charts to show that crime is actually on the decline in D.C. So if that's the case, why was it necessary to bring in federal oversight of the D.C. police?
I think there's 2 points. The police do not feel empowered. We are there to support the police. We're there to help the police. We are also there the perception is it's not safe. People do not feel safe. The amount of citizens that have come up to me on the street and said, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for taking on another responsibility. We appreciate the federal agents that are out there every single night. And now, starting tonight, we will be embedded with the Metropolitan Police Department. You will see federal agents working hand in hand on patrol with the Metropolitan Police Department. You will also see an increase of activity, patrol activity, in certain sectors to go after the violent criminal offenders that are the drivers of this crime. We cannot afford to turn a blind eye, Martha.
I know a lot of cities would like to see a greater presence on the street of police officers, and I'm way over time, but I got to ask you quickly, what are the duties of the National Guard in this situation? Because a lot of other cities are looking at this and saying, are we going to have this happen where we are next? What is the National Guard's duty?
Yeah, the National Guard is going to come in and assist law enforcement in a non-law enforcement capacity. There's so many different things that the National Guard can do that we experience in Virginia. They're a true force multiplier. They bring skills, they bring analytical work, they bring people that are dedicated to protecting this great country, and God bless our military.
I think every city in the United States needs this type of dedication to crime. Because if every city has this, there would be no murder or anything like that. During the weekend, you see people partying, next thing there's a shootout. There would be nothing like that because you would know to behave yourself. Because you know if you do something stupid, you're definitely going for a long time. Okay, going away for a long, long time. Every city, I subscribe to this. Every city needs this, especially Atlanta. I'll tell you that much.
U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro doubled down, maybe even tripled down, on the idea of getting control over juvenile criminals in particular.
We're also looking to lower the age of criminals. What's happening is, even if you shoot someone with a gun, you go to family court where the purpose is rehabilitation. You get to go to an ice cream social and you get to go to yoga classes. That's nonsense. All of these statutes that they've passed don't allow me to incarcerate. They allow the removal or the erasure of convictions. How fair is that to a parent who wants to find out whether or not a nanny is someone who's been convicted of a prior assault? How fair is that to an employer who doesn't get to understand or know who he's hiring? Everything about the D.C. Council and the laws that they've passed are liberal, they're defense-leaning, and they're not in favor of the citizens of D.C.
Republican Congressman Byron Donalds of the great state of Florida, member of the House Oversight Committee, also a candidate for Florida governor. Great to see you today. Look, this is making huge news in part because the left is so angry over this. And Jeanine Pirro there, the U.S. Attorney for D.C., laying out why this is necessary and how young some of the perpetrators are. Your take.
My take is the U.S. Attorney is absolutely correct. D.C. has a history of being substantially weak on crime. That's why the District of Columbia continues to be unsafe. Last Congress, I filed legislation. We just refiled it again that would actually put D.C. in line with every other jurisdiction in America. What I mean by that is in the District of Columbia, if you're 22 years old and you commit a crime, they can try you as a juvenile. No other part of America does that, but they do that in D.C. That's the kind of stuff that needs to change. With respect to what President Trump has done, it is his responsibility to take the safety and security of the nation's capital seriously. And I'm glad to see that he's dispatched National Guard to keep the streets of D.C. safe for everyone.
Look, I want to dig in a little bit deeper on this point. A crowd rental company says it's seen a massive surge in requests. The CEO has told Fox News D.C. and the inquiries just from that district are up roughly 400% compared to the same period of time in 2024. Most of the attendees are being paid or are there because it's their job to protest. That doesn't mean they don't support the cause, but it does mean that these crowds are not as organic as they appear to be on TV. Look at this. All right, so recent protests include this one on Monday during President Trump.
You are protesting. DC's our home. Okay. Who is going to solve these cases? Are you going to do it? Trump must go now. They just told you the stats. And you're protesting. What are you protesting, actually? And it's the same thing with ICE. People protesting ICE. What are you actually protesting? Because I'm trying to understand, okay? I'm sorry. I just want to know precisely what you're protesting.
Crime crackdown announcement. The singing, some of it rather cringy and had his name in it, you know. I want to make it clear. We don't know if these people specifically were paid or not, but that is certainly happening in many places around this issue. And against this president, it has tended to be the norm. Congressman.
We know that there's paid astroturf from the radical left. They do this all the time with a lot of their phony protests. When you talk to some of these people on the ground, they don't live in the jurisdictions. They tell you they're being paid. They're bussed in, and then when the issue's over, they leave. This is part of the astroturf of the Democratic left. We're far too familiar. At the end of the day, what is most important is that the security of Washington, D.C. is paramount. And if you're a Washingtonian living in Washington, D.C., you know that the streets are not safe. Members of Congress, Angie Craig, Henry Cuellar was held up at gunpoint and carjacked in Washington, D.C. If it happens to members of Congress, it happens to regular citizens as well. D.C. City Council has not prioritized safety and security. They have prioritized woke criminal justice reform policies that simply do not work, never have worked. And that's why President Trump is doing the right thing. He's stepping up and making sure that the federal seat, that is the Washington, D.C., that's what it is, the federal enclave, that the federal enclave is safe for all Americans.
You know, you pointed out, and the history of D.C. in particular, and I have to say this, I said this yesterday when we saw again Muriel Bowser, the mayor, Muriel Bowser, standing up there with Pat Smith, who is the chief of police of MPD, Metro Police. And they were talking about having just met with the AG Pam Bondi and how they want to work with, you know, the federal government and all of this. Yeah, this is politics, too. I mean, they had an opportunity to ask for help. They had an opportunity to make some change and to attack this in a different way. And it was by choice that they didn't. So how much do you trust that the cooperation is going to be sustainable from the left?
To be honest, I don't trust that they're going to want to actually cooperate with President Trump, which is why we have to continue to make light of this issue and make sure it's aware for everybody. This is similar to what happened at George Washington University when Muriel Bowser would not send in the Metropolitan Police Department to arrest the people trespassing on that university's campus until the Oversight Committee, the committee I sit on, subpoenaed her testimony in Congress. And the second we did that, all of a sudden, MPD was allowed to make the arrest. We have to make sure that we shine light on this. We have to keep it a focus of not just the people in Washington, but the American people. And that is the true way that you have accountability in this matter.
Look, I want to pop this up on the screen. About 400 D.C. National Guard troops have now reported for duty in the nation's capital. We expect that to reach that 800 point by the end of the week. The president was serious, and this is moving forward. I wanted to get that fact in. Congressman Donalds, it's always great to have you in focus. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency, or we might keep going. Who knows? Okay. We might keep going. Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? I was about to close the show, but then I remembered. We might want to do one or two more. All right, here we go. Let's do this. I mean, it's already 6:47. You better just grab a coffee, okay? Grab a coffee, okay? That's the most you could do.
First day of President Trump's D.C. police takeover, yielding nearly 24 arrests, and that includes suspects wanted for murder and gun crimes. Meanwhile, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, she is somewhat blasting the crackdown. She calls the deployment of National Guard troops unsettling and disturbing.
Also, Dana, the mayor and other Democrats pointing to numbers that show D.C. crime at a 30-year low. But top D.C. prosecutor Jeanine Pirro, fresh on the job, less concerned with stats, she says, and more concerned about the victims.
Thanks.
What changed?
It's never enough. This changed. This changed. It's never enough. You tell these families crime has dropped. You tell the mother of the intern who was shot going out from McDonald's near the Washington Convention Center, oh, crime is down. You tell the kid who was just beat the hell and back with a severe concussion and a broken nose, crime is down. No, that falls on deaf ears. And my ears are deaf to that. And that's why I fight the fight. Thank you.
So we will talk with Jeanine Pirro in a matter of minutes here, and we'll get the lowdown on what's happening thus far. Do not miss that. First, though, our coverage begins today. David Spunt is live in Washington. And, David, let's begin there with you. Good morning.
Bill, good morning. 28 days left of DOJ control over the D.C. Police Department unless Congress steps in and extends it. But both the House and the Senate have to agree. Now, National Guard troops took to their posts last night, patrolling the streets and neighborhoods of the nation's capital. No major incidents that we are aware of overnight. Things seem to go smooth, and that watch continued through the night. We also joined Attorney General Pam Bondi exclusively as she met with federal agents from the FBI, the ATF, Park Police, National Guard, and officers from the Metropolitan Police Department. Joining her, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro for District of Columbia, Police Chief Pam Smith, and the heads of the ATF and U.S. Marshals.
We know when you leave your homes every day, your spouses, your families, there's no ordinary day in what you do. And thank God for all of you and for what you're doing for D.C., for our country and our world by keeping us safe. We're here for you. We're here for you 24/7.
Yesterday, Bondi FBI Director Kash Patel and others met with D.C.'s Mayor Bowser and the city's police chief to discuss a transition plan that gives DOJ temporary control over the department.
I think it's something that is doable. We know that we have to get illegal guns off of our street.
Mayor Bowser not a fan of using the National Guard. Her response, though, has been somewhat measured over the past few days. She held a virtual town hall last night and upped the ante a little bit with her rhetoric. Watch.
We don't live in a dirty city. We are not 700,000 scumbags and punks. We don't have neighborhoods that should be bulldozed.
More so than other critics of the move who insist the president is making the wrong move by federalizing.
The problem here is these mayors, like her, she's saying we're not punks, nobody's talking about you. You are the mayor of DC, okay? Nobody's talking about you. Stop trying to group yourself with everybody else, okay? Oh, we're not, and everyone says, we're not. No, you are definitely not a punk, okay? You are a well-educated woman who is the mayor of DC. However, there are people in your city committing crimes and no results. So stop trying to group yourself. And that's what they like doing. These people, the highest level, they say, we're not. No, you are not even in the mix, okay? You definitely live in a nice, beautiful neighborhood. I'll tell you that much. Okay? You're not the regular American. You are the mayor. You probably have a detailed security with you every single time you go out. So you're not the normal, everyday American. So stop trying to group yourself with everybody else.
The police department.
This is about the president playing king, trying to be the authoritarian leader, the dictator. He sees a little opening in the law here.
And again, once the 30-day period is up, Congress could authorize an extension. It's unclear, though, if that's going to happen. Bill.
Hey, David, thank you for that. Talk to you throughout the day here. David Spunt, D.C., thank you. Dana?
And we want to bring in Charlie Hurd. Of course, he is the host of Fox and Friends Weekend. And we want to get your take on it because you're a D.C. guy, meaning that not like a D.C. guy, but you've lived there for a long time and you know it very well. You've worked there. Joe Scarborough had this to say.
I've had a lot of cars and bikes stolen, yes.
I know. And trees, don't forget the trees. But Joe Scarborough talked about some of the journalists down there. Watch here.
This is an interesting thing where I'll hear, I actually heard a reporter, heard from a reporter when this was happening going, well, if he doesn't overreach, this is actually a good thing for quality of life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because D.C. right now, I had this happen to my family and I had that, and they go down the list. And then saw him tweet something completely different. So D.C., there has been a problem in D.C.
I mean, at least he's calling him out on it.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of interesting because, of course, nobody knows the depth of the problem more than those of us in the media who have worked in D.C. and lived in D.C. for a long time, because we have endured a lot of the crime. Everybody knows somebody that has been held up, has been mugged, and of course, we all know people who have endured far worse things. Personally, we know. And so it's kind of interesting. And I do think that one of the reasons that the White House press conference the other day was so jam-packed is because on a personal level, so many people who cover the political news are deeply invested in this, and they are kind of curious about it. I think it's interesting the immediate reaction from Democrats is to object to it. And you do have to kind of wonder because, of course, if they, it wasn't that long ago that these same people were talking about wanting to make D.C. a state because you would assume because they want to help the place. But I don't think that's what they're interested in. I think at the end of the day, they're just interested in making D.C. a state because they want the power, but they don't really have any solutions to fix any of it. And Donald Trump comes along and says, hey, I'm going to try this. It's something different for sure. And maybe he'll have some success.
Charlie, what do you think of this story about the crowds on demand? Literally renting people for the day or for the evening. That's up 400% in terms of paid protester requests. That's Washington, D.C. I assume they come from Northern Virginia or parts of Maryland. What do you know about this, and will we see them?
Yeah, so and we've already seen some reports that these crowds have been activated right now to protest this right here, what you're seeing, I think, on the screen there from, I guess that's Monday. And it's another reminder that there are massive, heavily bankrolled interests who are interested in this is a major political story for those people. This is not a matter of basic safety, which is all it should be for politicians. You would think that politicians could agree, whether you're Democrat or Republican, whether these people vote for you or don't vote for you, you would want the safest federal city on earth. You would want people to be able to go to school without being worried about getting mugged or worse. But for whatever reason, and I've wondered a lot about it over the years. I can't give you an answer to it, but for some reason there is massive amounts of money, very wealthy interests that are deeply invested in keeping this chaos going and opposing even the most commonsensical solutions to real problems that affect real people.
It's interesting to imagine that their biggest fear is that crime goes down. And I know what the statistics are. I don't need any lectures on it. Piro answered that for me. I wanted to ask you about this as well because President Trump is going to head over to the Kennedy Center. He posted this: tremendous work is being done and money being spent on bringing it back to the absolute top level of luxury, glamour, and entertainment. It had fallen on hard times physically, but will soon be making a major comeback. That's a nice little jewel there, part of D.C., and a lovely bit of architecture, and he aims to make it better. better and is headed over there today.
And I think of this as being a lot like the situation with crime. All of us who have covered politics, that have sort of paid attention, lived in Washington, D.C., know that the Kennedy Center is a true gem. It is in one of the most spectacular places in the country. The views of the Potomac River and across are absolutely spectacular. And if you've been there, first of all, you get absolutely, you talk about getting robbed, you get mugged if you buy a ticket for anything at the Kennedy Center. And it is run down, it is drab. And so this is another one of those things where I think the president looks at this and says, you know what, this should be the crown jewel that it really is, and wants to do something. And then you wind up with opponents rooting for it not to be a spectacular, clean place where you, it's also totally inaccessible, by the way, where you get the most amazing attractions that everybody can enjoy.
So we will see. The word's leaked out, hasn't it? Like some of the
names?
Names?
I didn't see them. I was studying other things.
Maybe a rock and roll band that used to paint their face like it was Halloween every time. I'll give you a hint on that. And maybe a great legendary.
I heard it's going to be Bill Hemmer.
No, it will not. But my middle name is George, and that is your clue for another one of the.
What?
Focus now, Ben Ferguson, podcast host. So you were just telling me off camera, Democrats had better wake up because Republicans are all in. What does that mean?
All in means you don't show up for work, and then guess what? You're probably going to lose your job, and we're going to do exactly what we need to do our job. And I think there's two parts of this. One of it's just Texas Central. You have flood relief that is being tied up by Democrats who are refusing to come to work because they're trying to play a national issue on gerrymandering, which has backfired because now everyone in America knows just how much Democrats have been gerrymandering all over the country. Like, this is one of the most beautiful backfires I've ever seen by Democrats. You go after Republicans, you say, this is what they're doing. It's like, look at California. 40% of the people there are Republicans, and they have no representation. You look at all these other states, Chicago, or Illinois, I should say, and you keep going down the list. And what you're witnessing is what they've been doing for decades, and now there's finally a spotlight on it. So I love that. But look, I think Democrats are in big trouble in Texas. The people in Texas are angry with them. This is going to be a massive backfire.
All right, so the president is doubling down in his war of words with a far-left congresswoman. He posted, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is a low, very, all three exclamation points there, all caps, IQ individual, much in the mold of the AOC plus 3 gang of country-destroying morons, only slightly dumber. Wow. Crockett's been trolling the president with choice words like this.
Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of give me a break. Kind of like, you know, the orange orangutan, you know, the Timu Hitler. We have a Timu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of the United States.
Behind closed doors, reportedly, she's no different. In fact, this woman is straight up a bully. 3 separate sources who have worked with or for Jasmine Crockett tell the New York Post she creates a toxic work environment. Actually, that's against the law. They say she screams at her staff, is never in the office, freaks out at the most random things, and is focused almost exclusively on being an influencer. One source sums her all up as all diva, no wow. Crockett laughed off the accusations.
Oh my goodness. Listen, I know that I have arrived, honey. That is the way that I see this, because as Beyonce says, if they're not talking about you, then obviously you must not be doing anything. You know what? This is just more slander, more nonsense, more lies. Being a Black woman, there's a lot of scrutiny that comes my way, and it comes my way from
No. Just go look at your district. That's what we're talking about. Nobody's talking about you're a Black woman. Stop saying Black woman. Look, you're a woman. Okay, yes, we know. However, what's up with your district in Texas? Everybody has started making videos about your district. Go and clean up your district. Don't come up here as a Black woman. Who cares, bro? Nobody cares. Just do your job. That's all we want. Right now, nobody cares if you're a white man, a Black woman, white woman. Who cares, bro? This is 2025. The only thing that matters is performance. Can you perform? Are you capable? That's it. If you're not capable, go back home. Just go home, bro.
All different angles. But when people start talking about you, that's when you know that you are obviously getting under their skin.
Being a black woman.
Yes.
So apparently that is on her list of resume merits.
Yeah, you can be racist towards Donald Trump, as you just heard in all the things she called him. That is racism 101. And then she says, if you criticize me for doing my show or my interviews or my TikToking from my couch and not coming to the office, now you're somehow racist. Look, the Democratic Party created this. They created the AOCs. They allowed the Marxists and the socialists and the communists to get into the party. Now they're in charge of the party. And then they wonder why they have the lowest approval rating in history since we've been doing polls. The Democratic Party's never been lower now. It is because of the AOCs. I said this several years ago, I think on your show. Don't get rid of AOC. Give her money. Keep her in office, because it just tells the American people how unserious the Democratic Party is. They don't care about you.
You know what, though? I said this earlier about the violent crime in D.C. and other Dem-led cities to my previous panel of guests. I have to say this to you as well. The collateral damage, though, are the people.
Yes.
And yes, all the shenanigans and the politics and the trolling and the nasty words and all of it. At the end of the day, the people actually don't do well under all of that. So Trump is able to cut through that. Democrats don't cut through that just to do their jobs.
D.C. is a perfect example. Leave it to Democrats to be angry that the President of the United States of America is trying to fight crime.
Exactly.
They were mocking him last night on TV, calling him like Batman. And I'm like, Batman fights crime. Like, how is that an insult to the President of the United States of America when he's trying to fight crime? But Democrats are so deranged right now on Trump derangement syndrome. Anything Orange Man does is bad. And they keep getting these elected officials who are influencers. They don't know how to govern. They're not serious. And they run away from their jobs. So you look at Texas. I'm glad we're seeing now. Democrats don't like to go to work, apparently, if you're elected.
Oh, and toss in a swath of them are communists.
Yes.
Right? And what's the President of the United States trying to do? Fight a communistic government.
Yeah.
And President and Putin to stop a war against Ukraine.
But they're mad that they let Putin into America, right? Because we actually want to stop people from dying. Democrats, only Democrats can do this. They can literally be angry if you're saving lives in America. And they're mad at Donald Trump for trying to stop people from dying in Ukraine and Russia. That's the Democratic Party.
I just seen someone in the comment section saying, "Well, she's not a mayor; she's a congresswoman." So, what is your job as a U.S. representative? Because Jasmine Crockett is a United States representative representing Texas. All right. So, one of that would be what? Listening to the people in your district. Right? Wouldn't that be one of your duty, one of your job? Listening to the people in your district. What do they want? However, if you go to her district, it's dirty. Okay? I know for a fact people living in that district do not want dirty area. Oh, she's not. Every time someone speaks facts, next thing you're attacking. It's like he never gets old. He just never gets old.
All right, Finn.
Good to see you.
Ferguson, thank you very much.
Hey, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, one last one.
So President Trump formally announcing his plans to make Washington, D.C. safe again.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back and placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
And one Democrat is warning her party to get on board or risk losing public trust. Joining me now, former White House Press Office Chief of Staff, Yemisi Egbawale. Yemisi, thanks so much for joining the program.
Good to be here, Lawrence.
So tell me what you mean by that. You know, I've been covering the crime crisis in D.C., Baltimore, and a lot of areas in the country. And when they hear the stats being told, a lot of people tell me it just doesn't paint the full picture. How do you see it?
Well, I think we have to be willing to say the quiet part out loud. And I think as Democrats, it's facing uncomfortable conversations about crime. Look, no one wants to put kids in jail or lock them away for life, but when we ignore a problem, we allow it to fester, and we don't target what the founding issue of the problem is. And I believe for DC, a lot of that has to do with our youth and with education. I mean, DC for 2022 to 2023 had about 40% of kids that faced chronic absentee. So that means they missed 10% or more of the school year. Well, where are those kids when they're not in school? They're outside causing a little bit of chaos. They're raiding grocery stores, drug stores. They're putting entire sections of the city under curfew. And the fact of the matter is, the president is addressing something that is very real. We can live in this city and say it's a beautiful city, and we can also say that we have a chronic issue when it comes to our youth.
See, this is what some of the residents in Washington, D.C. said. Watch.
I think it frankly doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't trust that anything you put in place would improve safety.
Right now, we're not safe. We're kids and the teenagers doing everything.
When he says safety, when he's talking about federalizing it, what he really means is cracking down on the residents of the city.
The city is getting dangerous. So if we don't protect each other and we don't have police out there protecting us, then it could be a problem.
Yemisi, as you can see from the footage, there's a clear generational difference. You see the elders in that video saying it's out of control. And you're seeing the young people say it's not going to work. I don't see any problem at all.
Well, I can see how the young folks might feel a little bit apprehensive because of who the messenger is, President Trump. But Lawrence, I mean, I'm sure you know this as well. When we were kids growing up, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., those were adult hours. And now when you go outside in this city, I see adults, but I also see a lot of children. And so we have to tackle what's happening in their homes, because guess what? These kids live in neighborhoods with other kids who want to succeed. When we ignore public safety, we reduce opportunity for a lot of these young children. And I think we do a disservice to these vulnerable communities when we aren't willing to have these conversations.
Yemisi, you are so right. It was be home before the street lights are on. Every single night. Exactly. I want to get your comments on this other topic. Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani launches his anti-Trump tour, promising to be the administration's worst nightmare if elected. This is what he had to say. Let's watch it.
There is no borough that will be free from Trump's cruelty. Donald Trump does not respond well to cowardice, to collaboration. He requires a response that showcases the ability to fight back against that same agenda. And that's what I would do if and when he makes these kinds of threats with regards to New York City. I describe my administration as being his worst nightmare. I describe it as such because we will actually fight for the people that he claimed to be running to represent.
Is this the right campaign strategy for him right now? Make it him versus Trump and kind of discount the other people that are in the race?
Look, I want to caution Democrats. I think Zohran can run a kind of anti-Trump campaign because he exists in New York City, and the boroughs have made it very clear that they are deep blue. If you exist in rural districts, suburban, swingier districts, do not do this approach. You need to do something that's more holistic about the policy issues. It's going to be interesting to see if Zohran can tie affordability into Trump and how he plays that in the boroughs. But I want Democrats to make sure that we keep our message local. And so pay attention to your constituents, pay attention to your districts.
I feel like I say this every time you're on. Why don't they just hire you? Maybe they can win some things.
By the way, everybody keeps asking, well, Genesis, are you even American? Yes, absolutely. I am American. And that lady on your screen that you see, I don't know if she's on the right or the left, she's actually from Nigerian descent, okay? Like her parents are Nigerian. So I was born in Nigeria, and I don't think she was born in Nigeria, but this lady right here is a former White House press secretary. So, and if you actually look at the stats, right? Most people who come into the United States legally, they do well. It's just how it is. Because you had common sense to come into the United States legally. You obviously want to do better for yourself. That's why you came to the United States. That's why everybody comes to the United States. And that's why legal immigrants do not want illegal immigration. Jesus, why are we even talking about this? What are we talking about? Huh? What are we talking about? What is this? Shout out to Dr. Luke. Thank you for the super chat. God bless you. God bless you. You are absolutely amazing. Thank you. Uh, do we want to do liberal news, CNN? I mean, we are already up, so we want to go to CNN, or y'all want to just call it a day? Y'all want to call it a day, or you want to go to liberal news, CNN? I don't want this lips crying in the chat. Let's see what CNN has to offer. Let me just scroll and see. If I see nothing good, it's over. I don't see anything. All right. I think I see one.
This morning, there are new images of President Trump's police takeover rolling out in the nation's capital. FBI and DEA agents, some wearing masks, bulletproof vests, seen patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C.'s Georgetown neighborhood. And that Trump move is coming all really into clearer focus. Just as it is becoming into clearer focus, it's also raising new questions of which city is next. So first to D.C., the National Guard were seen at the Washington Monument. As well, we've also seen law enforcement personnel with the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Marshals Service taking part in traffic stops, and U.S. border agents on patrol at D.C.'s Union Station, the major hub for train travel there. All of this part of the president's crime crackdown, he says, in that city, a city he's tried to portray as being overrun by criminals, despite, again, the statistics and what the math and numbers say, which is the city has seen a 26% drop in violent crime from this time last year. With hundreds of federal law enforcement now on the streets of D.C., the FBI says 23 arrests were made overnight. And according to the FBI director, FBI agents were involved in nearly half of those arrests. CNN's Elena Treen is at the White House for us this morning, and a very different day it is this morning. What are you hearing today?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Kate, we have now really seen this ramped up presence of federal law enforcement in the streets and really at these high trafficked tourist spots. That is what we're hearing from our conversations with people here at the White House, where they want these federal law enforcement agents to be focused. So you mentioned we saw the National Guard. We actually saw 5 armored personal carriers near the Washington Monument on Tuesday evening. This comes out to the National Guard had came in on Tuesday. But then, of course, we showed those images of
This right here is called F around and find out.
people in the streets in Georgetown and all of these areas that we know where there's a lot of traffic, not necessarily though the areas we know where crime is the highest, places like Anacostia and others. And we've heard some criticism of that approach. So we're going to have to see really how this all continues over the next 30 days, because that is another key question, of course, is how long are we actually going to see this, and how effective is this going to be, this entire federal takeover? We know that the president has until mid-September. After that point, the White House has said that they are going to reevaluate what this process looks like. And of course, after that as well, he would need congressional approval to move forward. But a key thing that they're going to be analyzing as well throughout that time period, again, is how successful is this? Because the key question is whether or not this is actually going to end up being a model for some of these other cities we know that the president has mentioned, places like Baltimore, where we did hear the governor of Maryland say that he believes that this move is not necessarily, it's dangerous and it could lead to problems, but also cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, all of that's still unclear as we watch how this ends up playing out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, not mincing words on what he thinks about it, also having served himself. D.C.'s mayor, she has been watched very closely on how this is rolled out. She's in a different position than other mayors are, given D.C.'s status. A lot of talk about how diplomatic and careful she had been in talking about this move by the president and the administration. Seems to be shifting a bit, though.
So I gotta ask the chat a question, okay? So you would rather the crimes, the robbery, the killings, you would rather these things keep going on in DC? right? You would rather that than what Trump did. You would rather minorities keep getting killed. That's like you would rather that, right? Than Trump saying, you know what? We're going to federalize DC. Oh, Trump is the bad guy. But you would rather the robbery continue. You prefer that. Actually, I don't. I prefer what Trump is doing. If that's going to minimize this robbery and this killings of the same people that you guys always like to protest about protecting their lives. Oh, this is fascism. This is authoritarian. This is common sense, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that's exactly right. She's been treading very carefully. She's been very careful with her rhetoric. We've really seen that over the last week. I mean, when the president first announced that he had plans to do some of this, or even just wanting to bring in some federal law enforcement in the first place, it took her 5 days initially before she actually spoke out about it. And then even after he had made this announcement on Monday saying that he was going to be using the DC Home Rule Act to really have this takeover with federal agents, she still tried to argue that perhaps, it might be good to see people in the streets, while also noting that this move was unprecedented. But then yesterday, she did change her tone a bit. Listen to what she said.
We all need to do what we can in our space, in our lane, to protect our city and get to the other side of this guy and make sure we elect the Democratic House so that we have a backstop to this authoritarian push.
So you heard her saying have a backstop to this authoritarian push, which she's arguing that the president has been doing here, and also saying that they need to have a change in Congress to make sure that this could potentially be prevented in the future. All to say, very different language than we've heard in recent days, Kate.
A market shift, that's for sure. All right, Elena, great to see you. Thanks for starting us off.
Joining me now in the group chat, Garrett Graff returns. He's a journalist and historian. Lulu Garcia-Navarro, CNN contributor and New York Times journalist, and Doug Heye, Republican strategist. Good morning to you all. Good morning. Doug, I'm going to start with you because I'm sure your group chats are lit with all the winning that is happening. But it is very much, as you could hear from the response, hitting a nerve. So what do you think of how the president has approached this?
Well, first, it's a very different tone that we're hearing from Mayor Bowser today and yesterday than we did just a couple of days earlier. She is one of the smartest operators in Washington, D.C., in how she's been trying to navigate these waters with Donald Trump, given the role that the federal government has with D.C., not just over the past week, but over the past several months. Clearly, Donald Trump feels, though, that this issue of crime, and I think Republicans writ large, it's terra firma for them. Whenever they can talk about being tough on crime, they're really where they want to be. And D.C. is ripe for these issues. Obviously, the Capitol Mall, the National Mall is a safe place. Nobody really gets in any trouble there.
I mean, not obvious from the imagery, but yeah, now it is.
But if you walk in the mall, whether it's today or 2 weeks ago, you feel safe. You go in different neighborhoods and you start to feel less safe very quickly. 3 blocks from here is Union Station, where I unfortunately encountered a girl brawl at the metro stop just 2 weeks ago. And the things that I see at Union Station and smell at Union Station every day, every week, are troubling. And it's one of those things that allows Donald Trump to send this signal that he can. The thing I would say, while I don't like Donald Trump always finding something to declare an emergency that, by the way, always increases his powers, what a shock. If you want to solve this, one of the fastest things you can do is appoint judges, because the backlog that we have on prosecutions
I want to bring in the others here, because you're bringing up a good point that this is about 2 things at once. How does crime exist? How bad is it? One question. What should you do about it? What's legal or just, et cetera, is another question. And I think Democrats are struggling answering.
I think that's true. I also think this tells us a lot about the dynamics inside the Trump administration, which is this is an incredible misuse of federal resources in terms of the deployment of having, FBI agents, DEA agents, Border Patrol agents walking beats in the city, which is something they're not trained to do. They don't have the equipment to do. They don't even have the legal powers to do. I mean, one of the things is a lot of these federal agents don't actually have the powers to do the things that the Metropolitan Police does here. And so it's interesting to me that someone like Kash Patel, the FBI director, is unwilling to say, actually, I have a really good plan for addressing crime in D.C. Let me surge agents to a violent crime task force, to a fugitive task force, to a gang task force, and let the FBI agents do the things that they're supposed to do. And he's willing to let his agents be compromised for a political stunt.
I want to say that the police chief is tried to clarify the issue of just chain of command, who's in charge if you get, arrested in the district. Here they are answering that.
Are you answering to Terry Cole?
I answer to I answer to Mayor Muriel Bowser. Let me just say this: let us not have any controversy with that, okay? Because I know people want to build upon and create division. We're here to work together with our federal partners, and that's what we're going to do.
The fact is, the people who live in D.C. right now, even the politicians, even the Democrats, the blue-blooded Democrats, they are in some way, shape, or form very, very happy. Relieved. Okay? They are relieved right now because they would love to do what Trump is doing, but they can't do it. The only person that can actually do it is Trump. So, best way is act like you don't like what he's doing because he's trying to protect your people. So we're going to act like we don't like it, but we love it. Behind closed doors, we are celebrating. Actually, throwing parties, happy. Who wants to get robbed? Nobody wants to get car hijacked. Nobody wants that. So they are actually happy.
We live in the dumbest timeline to say what the kids say. The fact that we have a president who is deploying federal forces on the streets of their capital city and meeting with their enemies for a listening tour, I'm talking about Vladimir Putin, shows how unserious this is to tackle what is, of course, a problem in every city across the world where you have many, many people together. There's always going to be crime when you're talking about girl brawls, which I've seen too. We should have maybe better social media policies and better money for schools, not take away $1 billion from the D.C. budget, instead give money to schools to help children. And I'll also say that I live in D.C. in a historically black neighborhood. And last night, there were helicopters whirring over my head. I'm a former war correspondent. I've spent many years in conflict, and I never thought that this would be something that I would feel in an American city, other than, of course, on January 6th, which was, of course, as we know, the biggest episode of crime in the city. D.C. is a city where last year alone, it had the highest rates of tourism. I think historically, over 24 million people came to this city. People did not feel unsafe. And so this is a solution without the kind of problem that Donald Trump and his administration is presenting it as.
Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to the live show. All I can say is God is the greatest. America is the greatest nation on the face of the earth. God made it so. I love the United States. I'm thankful to the United States. And I believe you love the United States as well. And that's why you're here watching this show. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. And believe in Almighty God. God is the greatest. Without God, there would be no me. There would be no show. And I'd probably be, somewhere else. But with God, anything is possible. God is my strength. I tell you that much. And shout out to our esteemed members, Dr. Luke, the GOAT. God bless you. Thank you for the super chat as always. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the encouraging words. God bless you. Thank you, Dr. Luke, the GOAT. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Ringmaster Ingram, CRXR. God bless you, CRXR. God bless you to Sandra. Thank you. Also, I got to give a shout out to the moderators. Moderators, good genes, C. Shelley, God bless you. MVP Jet, God bless you. Corey B, God bless you. Zyro, Zyro's Garden in the house, God bless you as well. I don't know if Busky is in the house. Shout out to Busky as well. I don't know if Terry Vinings is in the house. Shout out to Terry as well. I just got to give a shout out to everybody, man. Thank you. And if you're just, tuning in, watching, enjoying the show, and putting your opinion in the comment section, thank you as well. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here and chatting with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What else? Shout out to law enforcement officers. Shout out to Ice, Ice, Ice Baby. Shout out to the veterans. Shout out to the military personnel. Without you guys, there would be no homeland. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you. I got to give a shout out to the fathers as well. Shout out to the fathers. Thank you for doing your daily duties, taking care of your family, providing, being a responsible human being in the society. God bless you. Thank you. It's not easy, but you do it anyway. So shout out to the fathers. I got to give a shout out to all the awesome daddies and fathers out there. Shout out to the mothers as well. You ladies have been doing a great job for centuries. So shout out to the mothers as well. What else? Life can be hard. A lot of people are going through so much, maybe loneliness or depression or grieving or financial issues or mental issues. A lot of people are going through a lot. So be kind to people, be nice. Some people are like this close to losing it. And some people are living paycheck to paycheck or maybe one paycheck away from being homeless. So be nice to people, be kind to people. If you can, give. If you can't, pray for people, okay? You just never know what people are going through, all right? And God is your strength. Stay strong. Don't throw in the towel right now. Don't throw in the towel right now. God is your strength, okay? He didn't bring you here to abandon you. So just believe that He is your strength. He's going to walk with you through the hard times. Just be strong and let God do what He does. All right? And with that being said, your boy Genesis has to sign out. I love you guys. It is currently 7:30 a.m. right now. And today's date is the 14th of August 2025, straight from Georgia. I am streaming from Georgia. So you guys, if you are probably in the West Coast, it may be a different time, but I'm in the South. So it is currently 7:30 right here. It is Thursday. So if you're going to work, enjoy yourself at work. Good luck. And may God bless the work of your hands. And yeah, with that being said, I gotta go. I love you guys. It is your boy Genesis, and you are currently tuned into The Genesis Show. If you've subscribed, thank you so much. And if you are planning to subscribe, please do. And God bless you, man. God bless you. God loves you, and He cares about you. So don't give up. Don't lose your mind. He actually cares about you. All right. With that being said, I gotta go. Your boy Genesis signing out. Gotta get some rest. I have to get some rest. My beautiful daughter has gymnastics class this evening. So yeah, I'm gonna have a good time with my baby girl. So you guys love your family, hug your family, tell your family you love them. All right. Spend time with your family members. Call them, text them, kiss them, hold them. You just never know. You never know. So tell them you love them. Show them that you love them. All right. I love you guys. Stay strong. See you soon. Your boy Genesis signing out.